This is Hard Copy on the McKinney Broadcasting Radio Network. Hard Copy seeks to lay out the facts in simple fashion for the inclusion of all Bahamians and Bahamians at heart. The focus every day to move forthright in our manner to build a progressive and developing country. Our desire is for a Bahamas with a competent, skillful, and productive workforce. We want a country that can feed and sustain itself. We want a country with a brilliant visionary action plan ready to embrace a future of hope and prosperity. We encourage like-minded Bahamians to participate with intelligent and honest contributions. After all, we have a country to build. We've got jobs and industry to create. Let me remind you, we've got a people to inspire and empower. And generations of born and unborn Bahamians, we the people, must protect and plan for. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on Hard Copy, you heard it, they talking about downgrading the Bahamas one more time, and this was anticipated. We'll talk about that and other things today with my special guest of interest, John Boswick. He joins me this Wednesday, and we'll give you the big and the latest information on Tropical Storm Erica.
Commonwealth Bank always has great offers for back to school and vacation loans to help you get prepared this time of year. But this year's Summer Madness specials are truly worth celebrating.
At Commonwealth Bank, I was approved for an education and vacation loan, and I also signed up for a savings account with 5.5% interest.
Loans to help with tuition, uniforms, travel, and more.
Thanks, CB.
Thanks, CB.
Thanks, CB.
Thanks, CB.
Thanks, CB.
Come celebrate Summer Madness specials with us. Commonwealth Bank, leader in personal banking services.
The government of the Bahamas has announced that there will be an increase in the minimum wage effective August 15th of 2015. In this regard, the National Insurance Board advises employers that for all workers impacted by the change in the minimum wage, there will be a corresponding increase in contribution payments for the month of August and thereafter. For example, a worker earning the current $150 per week minimum wage would have been paying from his salary contributions of $5.85, with the employer paying $8.85. With the increase in the minimum wage to $210 per week, that employee's contributions will be increased to $8.19 per week, with the employer paying $12.39 per week. The higher contributions will mean higher benefit payments for the worker. By law, contributions not deducted from the worker's salary at the time the salary is paid cannot be deducted from his or her future wages. Therefore, employers are reminded to make the correct deductions at each pay period starting on August 15th. The general public is reminded that increased contributions will be payable only for workers who earn less than $210 per week and whose wages will, as a result, be increased to reflect the new minimum wage.
This message has been brought to you by the National Insurance Board.
Introducing Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited. When in trouble, call us on the double. Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited. We provide bail bonds of $10,000 and higher. Has your loved one been arrested or need bail? No worries, don't stress. Contact the best. Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited, First Leader Grove, above Bronze Break Center. Telephone 325-8363 or email bailbonds@242@gmail.com.
I enjoy Hard Copy. I just love the information. It's informative, relevant, and timely. I love it.
It is Wednesday, the 26th day of the month of August, 2015. As you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic, we have partly cloudy skies. 82 degrees right now in the nation's capital. Light rain on the outside, a low tonight of 80, 20% chance of rain in the forecast. And we want to thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. This is Hard Copy. I'm Steve McKinney. We're brought to you today by National Insurance Board, Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited, Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions, BTC Every Day, new Samsung S6 on the market for you. Super Value, the Bahamian Supermarkets, the McKinney Media Group for effective PR concepts and advertisements, RBC Visa, Ministry of Tourism, Advantage Insurance and Brokers, New Oriental Laundry, 9 locations to serve you better, Grace Academy, Ron's Electric Motors, Prime Immigration Services, Sky Bahamas, Superwash with 11 locations open 24/7. Also, Seafowl, Cleaner Financial Advisors Limited, Commonwealth Bank, Summer Madness program underway. And of course, Executive Printers, Henry F. Store, the Light People, and the Blue Ultra Pure Drinking Water. Let me tell you, friends, we've got to get you updated on what is happening as far as this little disturbance out there in the tropics that's causing everybody to go to the stores and buy grocery and flashlights and all that kind of stuff. I stopped into Henry F. Store myself today to get some lights and searchlights, and I got there right in time, friends. Tell you no lies, the people were there buying up all the people's searchlights over there at Henry F. Store on Mackey Street. So if you want to, make sure you go by and check it out. Then go over to Super Value and get up all those canned goods. We may need them because we may get some of this weather that's coming this way in the next few days. By the weekend is when they're expecting it. The folks at the NASA Meteorological Department are expecting that we're going to have some disturbances because of what's out there. It's called now Tropical Storm Erica. It is a tropical storm, and there's an alert. Now, I will tell you this because you've gotten the latest information around about the 5 o'clock hour, or thereabouts the 4 o'clock hour today. Let me tell you, forecasting into the 6 o'clock hour, which is about an hour or so away, they will be upgrading that update. And it's going to go something like an alert is for the central Bahamas now. Tropical storm alert for the central Bahamas. And a tropical storm watch is for the Turks and Caicos and the southeast Bahamas. So make no mistake about it, there's some weather coming. And we know this is the Tropical Storm Erica that we've been watching for the last few days. It's bigger than the system of Danny that we had been talking about earlier. And the interesting thing is right now it's moving at about 18 miles per hour the last 24 hours. And it was at 17 miles per hour. It's just gained by a little, and so it's now moving at 18 miles per hour. We're going to get the complete weather update at 6 o'clock precisely this evening from the Department of Meteorology, but I'm just off the phone from them, and I can tell you that this is going to be an alert for the central Bahamas and tropical storm watch for the southeast Bahamas, along with Turks and Caicos Islands. And for the most part, by the weekend, a lot of the flights are going to be settling down and not moving. By Sunday, for instance, Bahamas Air, they're not going anywhere close to Long Island or in that particular vicinity. Turks and Caicos, Providenciales, no, they're not going that way because they will not be traveling around that time. That's the word that's coming from the Bahamas Air office today, and they're going to be giving us updates as we go along. So if you got plans to travel this weekend, you better try to make some other plans. What Bahamas Air is actually saying is that if you want to travel in those particular areas, or you're in that particular area and you are scheduled to travel sometime this weekend, move it up or move it back. If you move it up, there's no penalty. If you move it back, there's no penalty. So there you have it. Just a little information that you can write down and make a note of, because we are going to get some weather. This one has a lot of weather with it, with rain, lots of precipitation in this particular one. It's a kind of wet one. It's a little bigger. It is not as big as it could be at this particular time. It's still just a tropical storm. By the weekend, we may be getting a different rating on it. We don't know. It depends on how it's going to be moving. And so right now we're looking at a tropical storm out there, and we're looking at a watch, a tropical storm watch for the for the southeast Bahamas, and as well as the Turks and Caicos. And then there's also an alert. We're now being alert that, hey, something's coming. That's what the alert means. And it means that there's an alert now for the central Bahamas that also includes us, okay? So hang tight. We'll keep you posted. You want to keep a lock here. We get minute-by-minute updates if we have to, as we talk here this evening on Hard Copy. Today, though, being the 26th day of the month of August, is also a significant date. I don't know if anybody knows, but today is the day that we mark the death of the late Lyndon Oscar Pinling, father of the nation.
My fellow Bahamians, I, Lyndon Oscar Pinling, Prime Minister of the Bahamas, do hereby declare that Jesus is Lord of the Bahamas.
Jesus is Lord in the Bahamas.
This is a special tribute, Priscilla Rollins and Company,
We need him in our homes
on the death anniversary of Lyndon Pinling.
We are a nation of believers. On Christ the solid rock we stand. Though some try to deceive us. We've been touched by a mighty hand. It is Jesus, our Redeemer. It is Jesus, our friend. It is Jesus, our Savior. And Lord, yes, He is Lord. Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord. All people of these lands, say the Lord with gladness. We know the Lord, He is our God. He is Jesus, our Redeemer. He is Jesus, our friend. He is Jesus, our Savior. And Lord, yes, He is Lord. Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord.
Let the Lord guide us. Let the Lord save us. Let him lead us to a brighter Bahamas.
Yes, this August 26, 2000. August 26, 2000 was the year that Lyndon Oscar Pinling went home to glory. That was 15 years ago to the date. And that song that you heard just now was something on the commemorating his death anniversary. And of course, we just want to salute the entire Pinling family because of the sacrifice that they made for this country some time ago. We just thought we'd take that time out and put that there for you, just so that you can know that we acknowledge that death anniversary, as many people do. In fact, this morning they were in the graveyard across here, just from the Peace Radio station, just to mark that particular anniversary of the late Lyndon Oscar Pinling, who's now hailed as father of the nation of the modern Bahamas. That's all that you'd like to know. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about a number of things here, and that is because a number of things continue to happen. I'm not, I can tell you, I continue to be amazed by the amount of things that I'm reading and seeing in the newspapers with all this stuff, I call it, that's going on. This one supporting that one, the next one not supporting the other one. Did you see the papers today? The papers today says that Code Smith is calling on Obie Wilshcombe to resign after his comments that he thinks the governor of the Bahamas should cease this nonsense about the winding up. And that caused a lot of people to get excited, including one of the surrogates who really ought not to be quoted on anything much, as I told you yesterday. But even that surrogate is calling that a minister should not be making statements that appears to be anti-government sentiments, and he's a sitting cabinet minister. Well, anyway, that is what is being said. So Wilshcombe may be under attack now from within the party of the PLP. I tell you, all kinds of crazy things are happening, and I am amazed, even amused in some cases. So that's happening, and while that's happening, Michael Pintard is also saying that he applauds Wilshcombe, just as the former deputy prime minister of the Bahamas, Brent Simonet, says that he applauds Wilshcombe for taking that stance of saying that, look, what are we doing this winding up for? This has caused us problems, and it's going to be protracted. And if it is true that they want to have this matter cleared up quickly, then the winding up, Wilshcombe reasons, is that that's not the way to go. It's the only option that we have open to us, mind you. But he believes, I suppose, that maybe we ought to look at something else. I don't know if he is going to go as far as thinking or saying that we, the people of the Bahamas, and a sovereign country, ought to have adopted this idea that SARC and really the developers Bahama had that was that we should have embraced the rulings or the decision by the Delaware court and tried to adopt what they were doing there to make this matter speed up. Well, that's what they're thinking. Sarkis is that if we had adopted the decision by the Delaware court for bankruptcy, then we would have been halfway home. They would have gotten the monies. They would have paid some people. They would have been well on their way, staving off their creditors, and we may have had a deal struck by now with China Exim Bank to continue. But the way things are looking, it doesn't look as if China's Exim Bank or the CCA, China's Construction Company of America, are too interested or interested at all with Sarkis' Meridian's Bahama development. It seems as if they got their own idea going now, where they're going to do something else, perhaps like foreclose, find a new partner, and continue the development with some new partner. In the meantime, this winding up process seems to be getting somewhere with some traction that, they may soon appoint court liquidators in our jurisdiction, in our court. And if they do that, then they'll be on their way of having management control in the management and the assets of Bahamas. So something's going to give. We don't know when the something in the Bahamas is going to give, but something may give as soon as it may give. It's the best I can tell you. In the meantime, though, nothing's happening for us as far as the credit rating is concerned. Moody's and those people, Standard & Poor's, they are not joking, if you will, put it that way, with the Bahamas. They know that the economic outlook is going to be for another bad downgrading, simply because we're not making any money with Bahamas staggering. Nothing's happening with the Bahama project, so that's going to have a big negative impact upon the economy that they have anticipated. So the ratings are going to be a little lower this time as Standard & Poor's get ready to, just tell it all and say, this is the deal. Now, the Bahamas government is already starting to spin this, that it ain't so bad. Don't worry about it. It ain't so bad because, they still have some kind of good economic outlook. It ain't so bad is what they're saying. And for the most part, many Bahamians are concerned, should be concerned, and who is not concerned yet will become concerned in short order because we don't see any growth. The economy was pegged at growing about 1% before all this happened, and this thing didn't happen with Bahama, and we still ain't got no jobs, and we're still in the doldrums of doing nothing, and there are no ideas on the table as to how we're going to bounce out of this. And so Standard & Poor's have already decided that they're going to lower the Bahamas' credit rating. It's low now. I've got to check to see what they loaded to. I think it's somewhere around, must be BBB something now. And we're gonna turn our attention to that in great detail in just a minute as we get our bearing here. So we're watching a couple of things. We're watching this tropical storm out there, Erica, could reach the Bahamas by the weekend. We're also watching the people in Parliament who are bickering and shoving and pushing and insulting and embarrassing each other. And it's all across the aisles. The political divide means nothing here. FNMs are supporting PLPs, PLPs are supporting FNMs in the different stance by different individuals who have a lot of different things to say about a lot of different issues that have all confounded all of us. That's where we are on this 26th day in the month of August, the death anniversary of Lyndon Pindling. And it's kind of interesting that sound clip that we played had him, Lyndon Pindling, talking about the Bahamas being blessed and so forth and so on. And, I believe that. I hope that others have heard that and want to believe that too, because throughout our archipelago right now, people are losing hope. That's because there's not a great direction politically as to what's going to be in the pot later on. For substance, nothing great in the pot. And that is a serious situation. I'm going to run to the break, open my lines. John Boswick's joined me, and we're going to talk about a number of these things on a very sobering notes because we needed some sobering talk today and bring you up to date as to really where we are and why we are where we are and how we can get out from where we are if we use some innovative ideas, if we have some courage, and if we decide that we're going to put our best foot forward for country first and not for our own personal pockets. This is Hard Copy.
Commonwealth Bank approves loans for tuition, uniforms, school supplies, travel, or computers. And this year, we have Summer Madness specials that make it even easier.
At Commonwealth Bank, I was automatically approved for a CB MasterCard.
As a special bonus, get automatically approved for a CB MasterCard or a CB SunCard MasterCard. Plus, get a chance to win a travel voucher valued at $2,200.
Thanks, CB.
Thanks, CB.
Thanks, CB. Thanks, CB.
Thanks, CB.
Commonwealth Bank, leader in personal banking services.
New Oriental Cleaners is celebrating 54 years and going strong. And the Lee family wishes to express a big thank you to their many valuable customers and their loyal staff, team members dedicated and committed to excellent service. Thank you, Bahamas, from New Oriental Cleaners and the Lee family, who appreciates your support in every way. New Oriental Cleaners has been committed to keeping the Bahamas looking good for 54 years, and they're just getting started.
Baby, you just ain't into nothing yet.
When I fly with Sky.
Sky Bahamas.
When I fly with Sky.
Sky Bahamas.
The plane them spanking clean. The pilots them voice red. They fly you out on time. They flight attendants red. Service is their passion. With you they take good care. Safety is their culture. Yes, they'll get you there. When I fly.
Fly with us to Fort Lauderdale or the beautiful Bahama Islands. Book today at 702-2600 or visit our website at skybahamas.net and experience Sky.
Feel like eating something tasty that's good for you? SuperValue can help you create the perfect meal when you visit the salad bars. Filled with all the nutritional choices that are good for you, our salad bars make the perfect lunch or snack, anytime and any day of the week. Eat smart, eat healthy. Join the lunch bunch at a SuperValue salad bar, including the quality markets, including quality staff. SuperValue, the Bahamian supermarkets.
Melissa says.
I wish I could find uniforms that keep me looking fresh and crisp for the whole school year and get my skills adjusted if I need it.
Well, I wish I could get a uniform that don't fade easy.
I wish I could find good prices and quality uniforms in one place for all of y'all. That's what I wish.
Get the good things you wish for at Melissa Sayers Uniform Center, in the mall at Marathon, East Street, and now at the shops at Carmichael. Melissa Sayers has the best selection for all your uniform needs in the Bahamas, and if we don't, we'll make it for you. Only at Melissa Sayers.
A business without a sign is a sign of no business. To not be in the directory is as if your business does not exist. My name is Diane Knowles. My company is Security Forwarding Service.
Get listed and upgrade by advertising in the BTC directory today. BTC, every day.
There's no other talk show like the show. If it's 5 o'clock, it's hard copy.
Welcome back. We begin hard copy in earnest this afternoon on this 26th day of August. Downgrading for the Bahamas. It's a serious thing. Do not take it lightly. Some people don't know what it means. We've been talking about downgradings that's been happening to our country for a little while, from Standard & Poor's and even Moody's, the rating agencies. And they, of course, are getting their information from those whom we are in debt to in many regards, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and places like that. It's based upon our debt ratio to GDP, the fact that it's not getting any better, and the fact that the economy has flatlined on us as far as any prospect of real positive growth that can make things happen in the Bahamas as far as a good economy is concerned, and it's not looking good. Now, let me just bring you up to date. A couple of months ago, when we got that downgrading record from Standard & Poor's, it was a triple BA. It was a double BA / A-2 rating, which really is on the triple B / A-2, which was really on the brink of what you would call right on the precipice of falling across into an area that you don't want to go. And the truth be told, we told you at that time that, boy, we are just a little bit away from what you would be calling junk bond status. Now, let me just bring you forward to where we are now. Since that particular downgrading, that was not too good. The government said some things to try to clean it up and make it look as if, it's not all that bad. And some people even argue that why would we say that we are nearing junk bond status? It's because that we are. That's the fact of the matter. And so now where we are is we are at a BBB- /A-3. Now, I know that all of those numbers are kind of confusing. What does that mean? Well, simply, that's a lower medium range of where we are, close to that particular cliff that we could fall off, because the next step after this BBB- /A-3 is junk bond status. Junk bond status, friends, simply means that, nobody who is interested in doing any investments in your country would be interested in investing, because that particular status where we are now approaching says that, hey, caution light, don't fool with that. If you fool with that, you're taking a big risk and you could lose your pants. That's what that means in layman's terms, so that you may know all the sophisticated talk about these ratings. That's for the big money market experts like John Boswick and Paul Morse. That is for them to understand, and just by calling the numbers. For you to understand where we are, and for you not to be duped by anybody in politics who all seem to be mixed up in the web of deceit and conflict of interest and everything else, you need to know this. We are one step away from junk bond status. That's not a good place to be, not for the Bahamas. And that's why I think it was ominous today that you saw Lyndon Pinling, or heard him say that this country is blessed and this country belongs to God. We've got to get back to that kind of talk, quick, fast, and hurry, because this ain't no joke. When we talk about this, is nothing to dance about. This is nothing to prance across the stage and play crazy over. This is real stuff. And we've got to get serious as to how we're going to do things. Now, why did they do this? It's because of where we are. This Baha project, where we put all of our eggs in one basket, it was not a wise thing to do. Now it's not panning out. It's moving too slow. It's not going to see any start soon, not based upon the experts of the rating agencies. So they have already gone and forecasted that, look, you're getting a downgrade. And my friends, that next step that we don't ever want to hear about will be called BBB/B-, or BBB/B-, which is junk bond status. And we're fast in that particular lane. We pray, God, that things going to work out, that something happens to this economy fast to give us to put us in the next direction for forward trajectory of good and positive growth. But right now, that's where we are. So you have to understand, this is some serious and precarious times, serious and compelling times for those who are running the country, the Minister of Finance, those who are supposed to try to stimulate this economy. We've got to do some things. We have all been praying and asking and talking about it and being sober about it. And now it's upon us. And even now, while it's upon us, that we have been lowered again, not a junk bond status yet, but just a step away. Now that that has happened, this is a time to call for the great minds to get some things going in this country. What's going to happen? I don't know. We are still stuck in the mud and the quagmire of not going anywhere, because we have all of our energies on this Baha project, and that's not a good thing. John, good afternoon. How you doing?
Good day, Steve. How you doing? And good day to the Bahamas.
Did I get through all that landmine with all of those BBBs and all that kind of stuff?
Just about, Steve. And you know,
this is quite interesting, isn't it? That we've got to find a way to change the course of direction, but this is nothing that can happen overnight.
No, and it's nothing that happened overnight.
No, I know it didn't happen. We didn't get here overnight, and there's nothing to get us out from over here overnight.
Steve, 40 years of deficit spending, 43 years of deficit spending, 43 years, and I'll say it one more time, of deficit spending. Who in God's name could survive 43 years not paying your bills, 43 years not breaking even, not even breaking even? We're not talking about making a profit. We're talking 40 years of deficit.
And this is the business of running a country.
We've had former ministers of finance in the 80s say they'll borrow till they can't borrow no more. And I guess that is now upon us. the fat lady is about to sing.
Yeah, because once you get a certain place, you are not qualified to borrow because you can't pay your debt.
Just to reiterate what you said, where we were before was a triple B/A-2. That defines as upper, lower, medium grade investment rating. That's how that translates into English. Upper, lower, medium. Okay. So you're kind of on the wrong side of midway. Okay. We have now been downgraded to triple B-/A-3, which translate in English as the lower medium grade. So not upper, lower.
It's lower. We've
Lower.
dropped.
Okay.
It's lower, right.
Lower. And that is regards to the sovereign investment rating of the country. The next stop, as you said, is double B+/B. And that equals a non-investment grade, a speculative environment.
Take your chance.
Take your chance.
Investors, if you dare.
If you dare. Okay. And the common phrase for that is junk bond status.
Meaning that it ain't really no good. It ain't no value. There's no real.
There's just pure risk.
Yeah, pure risk.
So, and with junk bond status, what people fear is the suggestion that carries with it the devaluation of our currency.
That's where that's the part that Bahamians are concerned about.
That's the reach out and touch you part. That's the tangible feeling. What a lot of people say, what does this translate to us on the road? I hear all of that. Okay. But what does this mean to me on the road? And it means that you are facing the loss of your purchasing power locally and internationally. The inability to travel dollar to dollar, to spend dollar to dollar, to stock your shops dollar to dollar, to stock the food stores and the warehouses. And this is for a country that imports 98% of what we consume.
Not a good picture. Not a good picture.
This is frightening. Okay.
Yeah.
How close is this? Some people say it could be the end of this year. Some people say it could be 5 years. But any one of those definitions is well too close. We're at the end of a long rope. We've had 40 years of rope, 43 years of rope. Okay. And we're at the end of that rope. We're at the end of that rope. And it is a rope that has been woven through fiscal and governmental irresponsibility for 40 years.
Mismanagement, poor management,
cronyism, failure to collect taxes, on and on and on. We're talking about new taxation structure. Yes, we do need to have a new taxation structure. But at the same time, we need to, I keep saying this, Steve, I get so tired of coming here and saying this, we need to enforce the laws that are in place. If we were to collect all the back taxes that are owed to this country, we could go a far way off paying our debt. Okay, if we were to simply start collecting the taxes that are due every year in full,
John, we don't only have to
retard our debt.
We don't need to only collect all of the taxes, requisite taxes that are outstanding. We also need to begin from a premise of honesty and tell the truth. You know, we hear the government and those in the financial services sector say that, you know, our debt ratio to GDP is somewhere around about 70 or thereabouts. A lot of people believe it is far beyond 70 based upon a number of other factors in the market. But no one says that. And I suppose you can't. You have to make it as pretty as we can, all things considered, where we are in this poor economic position right now. But based on my understanding of how important that debt ratio to GDP is, the world standards for a sovereign country like ours would be that we would have a debt ratio to GDP, the highest that it could be without being in real trouble. It's around but 35%. 30, but we're at 70 somewhere around, and it's growing. Now, that doesn't put us in a good position of growth in the economy. That doesn't put us in a good position of being able to borrow monies to do other capital works and stuff that we would like to do. And everybody knows that we've been borrowing. As you mentioned, some ministers of finance in the mid-'80s were saying, let's borrow till we can't borrow no more. Now, we may still have that attitude because we have been doing deficit spending all of our existence as an independent country. Deficit spending. That's no way to build a country. Do you suppose that there's a way that we can magically get out of this in the next 20 years for the future of this country? Or do you suppose we're on the road to most of those Eastern Caribbean states and other parts of the Caribbean that eventually saw the dollar, the bottom drop out of the dollar, and they're now somewhere trading somewhere around about maybe 26 to 1 US in certain countries, and
100 to 1.
100 to 1 in certain countries.
And to big, what we would consider somewhat all right countries. I think Jamaica's they're going there at 100 to 1 now. So, and that's one such country. Steve, going backwards, yes is the answer. Of course, we can fix the problem. How do we fix the problem? New leadership. Period. We can't keep employing the same people who created the problem to fix the problem. That's madness. How many times you can call the same plumber
and get there every day?
If it was only a leak, it'd be all right.
Yeah,
the toilet back up.
Yeah, and
the cesspit back up.
And it stink.
It's the house
and you
full.
got your mop, and you mopping up every day and sucking your teeth, but you still hiring the same plumber.
Calling the same plumber. Yeah. Calling the same plumber. Calling the same plumber. At
Serves
some
you
point,
right.
you're gonna hire a new plumber, a whole new company. You see the same plumber, or you say send somebody else from the same company.
They got the same standard.
Okay, all right. So at some point, you're gonna hire a new plumber from a different company, and you're gonna take the old plumber to court, and you're gonna hold him responsible, and you're gonna sue him, and you're gonna make him pay the cost for the new plumber, whatever the cost is, to fix the problem.
Boy, you sound like Damien.
You understand? So you have to hold people responsible for the error of their ways.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, you're right. That's only the right thing to do, to make sure that people are able to compensate you. People are able to pay back the stuff that they've cost you in damages. And when we look at the economy of the country, and when I said jokingly that you sound like a Damien, I meant from the point of view that, you know,
hold him responsible.
Hold him responsible. He's looking at some other areas of concern with perceived conflict of interest and cronyism and all that. And he's saying, look, we got to hold these people responsible. And let's do something about it. But are we prepared to do anything at all about these things, John? See, my concern today is what it was 15, 20 years ago. We keep doing the same things over. We have not made any deviations from what we have been doing in our plans. You just look at the amount of cars that we have on the road. I mean, when are we going to, how many cars could hold on this little island? Have you seen the latest numbers of the cars as far as the numbers of the license plates? Hundreds of thousands of cars we've got on this island. What are we doing? See, when you look at a country that's not planning for the future, you've got to be concerned. And just how we keep bringing in all this abundance of cars here and there, and every family got 15, 20 cars. And when we get rid of a car, we sell it to somebody else who could still use it, so the car's not off the road. We see a compilation of so many cars that you have no place to drive and turn. This is the same thing with the economy. We keep doing the same thing. We keep borrowing. The debt becomes bigger and larger and growing and growing. 6-point-something billion dollar debt. What are we doing in this little country? How is that happening? And what do we see do we see the profit in all this kind of spending and borrowing that is going to make the people any better off? We still ain't got inside plumbing in plenty places around here.
Well,
what are we doing?
Steve, the places that don't have inside plumbing are the places that have been represented by the leadership.
Yes.
Think about that.
Yes, sir.
Okay? That have been represented by the leadership, if not the prime leadership, cabinet level leadership. Even today. Even today.
My Lord.
Every place in this capital city that does not have inside toilets is represented by a cabinet minister today.
With no shame.
Today. Okay?
And this is after many, many years, as we said, 43 years of the same kind of thing.
So we go there. But Steve, when you talk about borrow, Steve, if you're earning millions of dollars, you could borrow till you're green. People keep lending you money because you're earning.
Yeah.
But if you're unemployed, don't expect nobody to lend you no money.
No.
Not anybody who expects to get something back.
And the whole lot is to be paid back.
And the effectiveness is that we as a nation state are unemployed. It's not just that we're running 37% unemployment amongst young people. We as a nation state are on what do we own? What do we make? What are we earning as a nation state? We import 90+%.
Where are the industries? Where are
the industries? The two-tier economy, tourism and financial services, who owns them? Okay? We got over 90% of the hotel beds in this country are foreign owned. Okay? The banking sector is foreign owned. So where is the employment of the Bahamas? Where is our income?
What do we own?
What do we own?
Yeah.
We getting $2 a ton off of the aragonite. You got to be joking. You got to be joking. We get $0 a ton off of the salt.
We got the wealth, but we have not managed the wealth. We've been giving it away.
Okay. No, but
Squandering.
so we try to have earnings via selling our primary asset, land.
Yep.
So when you run out of that, what's next? You start selling the people?
Maybe.
We are already selling the people. They for sale. We are economic slaves. The top of the top carrying debt on top of debt on top of debt. The country is carrying debt on top of debt.
Don't you think we need a nice fireside chat of some sobering talk to let people know?
Steve, we haven't that.
We are having it.
We've been having that.
But you and I are considered them two fellas. See, when I say we, I'm talking about a country that knows where we are and the leadership who has not been open and transparent and accountable to talk this sober talk to the Bahamian people, because, you know, I feel, John, as if the bottom is just going to fall out one day and somebody can say, well, what the hell happened there? What happened?
Steve, you have to understand that the bottom fell out of our neighbors, Jamaica. Jamaica still has bauxite. Jamaica still has an agro industry that's huge. And the bottom fell out. Trinidad's got oil, tar, pitch, agriculture, and the bottom fell out. We don't have those things as active industries. So the bottom could fall out of here a lot quicker than they did there. We have them as an example. We could sit down and go back to 1960s and watch Jamaica and track it and study it and research it. Guyana, Trinidad, we could watch. Barbados is going down. We could watch. We have this example to look at and to study and to learn what
and we
not
have in some
to
cases,
do.
but we have not learned from it.
What not to do. They have published books recently. One of the most exciting but painfully exciting and deep reads that I've had in recent time is Confessions of an Economic Hitman. It's a beautiful, you must read it and you will understand what is going on and what happened in all those countries. You have some capitalists who have now turned on their system and said, you know what we're doing to the world ain't righteous. And so they write, and they shouldn't. Anybody who wants to be in leadership around the world and in national planning, you can open books now and see how they manipulate, how the IDB
and learn what
IMF
not to do.
And the World Banks manipulate and massage and point you into certain directions to push you over the edge and offer you more rope as you're following. We can study this.
Because we bought this concept that as long as we could borrow, we're in good standing. And many countries have gone that way. We borrowed till we got to the point where the bottom fell out of the dollar, and we are paying far more to other countries on what our dollar is supposed to be worth. And this is what I'm afraid of. No one, John Bostwick, is talking enough. The economists of the country, those who are in private sector, those who know, and those who could warn, and those who I suppose have warned and are tired of talking, they don't even talk no more. They don't even offer commentary on this kind of thing no more. It's like we are just suffering the actions of what has happened. And as we wake up, we're learning that, boy, it is really over in many regards.
Steve, there's a storm traveling right now. And God forbid, we all praying that it doesn't come and it turns and it turns and it turns. But that's what we seem to always do. After the Met Office get on the radio, right? And they say the storm coming. And they warn us, and the meteorologist says what he has to say. You know what he does? He go home to his house and get ready. After you done talk, I just
gotta be action.
What else can I do? You talk, you lend your services, you lend your voice, and you but after a while, you say, why they tired talking? What they have done now is backed off to prepare themselves.
Right.
For the coming storm.
Who doesn't want to prepare themselves for this economic storm? That's their business.
Okay.
So if you have not gone and begun your garden farm and begun doing things of investment to make sure that you're going to be okay, you and yours, cut down on your budget of overspending and foolish spending, like a lot of these families are doing right now. John, you know what's the end thing in this country? Ordering online and bringing it in through the freight carriers and going down to everybody, as all these women and people are doing.
That's correct.
This is crazy.
That's
you need
correct.
to understand what time it is. You've got to start putting your little pretty dollar aside because you're going to need that. We're squandering. And a lot of people are still planting crabgrass and trees that can't bear no fruit. They may not understand that it may take 10 years for a tree to mature to give you the kind of fruits that you need, some peaches, some pears, these kinds of things. And we buy a lot of foolishness into our country too, that this can't grow here. We need to start doing some practical things that mama them used to do, and mama them had a good meal every day. It's going to come right down to a good meal. It's going to come right down to that basic good meal, because where we're going, you said it earlier, we have not even developed all of these things that we say that we have that makes us wealthy. We have people call all the time, where the Ragonite? Steve, they selling the sign. Steve, yeah, okay, fine. Fine. We make noise about it. How much noise are we prepared to make about it? Where is the action that we're prepared to put behind it? And what are we doing as individuals to make sure that we ourselves are going to be prepared for the economic storms that we are about to have, not just as Erica, but the economic storms that we're about to have.
You know,
we don't save in this country. Our savings is the pits.
One of the economists who I have in my circle of advisors, Steve, and it's something I believe in my life, which is one of the reasons why I am blessed to say that I don't carry debt. But my teaching has been that debt equals slavery. And to know that we've had a policy of borrow till you can't borrow no more as a national policy, then it says to me our leaders had no desire for our freedom, that they understand. Because I give them the level of training and understanding I have, I assume they have. I must. And some of them have been economists, they've been bankers, they've been this, they've been that. So I can honestly say that they had no freedom for us in their minds. If you're going to sit down and say that I'm going to borrow till I can't borrow no more, I'm saying in the same breath, I'm going to sell my people into slavery until I don't have no more of them to sell. Because debt, in the economist's mind, equals slavery. So that our leaders have led us out of a situation of freedom back into captivity. Every blessed one. This ain't a black or white thing, you know. This is a us thing across the board. This ain't a rich and a poor thing even. This is us. A lot of richness in this country is perceived richness, because the rich man owes more than the poor man. The poor man is actually freer. The poor man may actually own his little clapboard house and his little 60 by 60 and don't owe the bank nothing. But he struggling through every day trying to keep his light on. The rich man owes $1 million on his house, owes $70,000 on his car. Who is richer between the two? Really? You got debt. I own my little clap. Who's richer? So
the poor man.
Exactly. But they don't realize it through perception. Okay? So when you talk about a free society, and this is why I dare say many of us won't speak, because we know we can't. We are not free. One call to the boss, you're out, and you're out of your house in Old Fort Bay. One call. That fella think he's free. Wake him up. Yank his chain.
Let him feel something.
Let him feel a little hungry. Let him feel, whoop, gone. No boy better don't say nothing. I've had somebody who's at the top, at the tippity-tip top of one of the largest offshore banks that is still here, tell me recently as I came at him with these conversations, you know, you're right. I'm free. Okay? And it's a powerful man who was a proud Bahamian, and he didn't like to have to say that, but it was true.
But you know, John, this is absolutely serious stuff that we're talking today, because a man is not free, somebody can make a call, shut him up, or he wants to maneuver to become an advocate for something that's worthwhile for the building up of the country, but he is neutralized because he has debt. That causes people not to pour into the areas where we need the growth of human capital, and that is in politics, that is in leadership. And as a result of it, we have more of our people staying back. And I used to look at it one way and say, you know, look, we've got all these guys coming home with all these degrees and they're good at this, but they get a house, they marry a pretty gal, they're living, they got 2 kids, they live in the life, they're not getting involved with anything, and the country's going to hell. And they've got the mathematics, they've got the English, they've got all what it takes to correct things in the country, but they've not got the courage. And as a result of that, they're not moving because of what you just said. They're not really free. They mess around, somebody yank their chain, and the next thing you know, they're as quiet as a church mouse. And that's not growing the country.
You know, Steve, things are upside down. And somebody said to me that there's chaos when people love things more than people. And we have become such a materialistic society. And when I listen to the generation before who really didn't have much, who had guinea corn, had one hog in the yard, and self-sustainable, but free.
Yep.
I mean free. You can't take nothing from me. You can't starve me.
Yeah.
Okay?
You can't cut me down and shut
Can't
me up.
cut me down, can't shut
I
me up.
am my own man.
That's my piece of 60 by 60. You can't put me off of that. I don't own nothing on that. A different breed of people.
Yeah.
All right. And we had a different breed of nationalism. But as we crossed over into so-called political ownership
and modern times,
and we started to get these nice things and this air conditioning and
we
the
got used,
TV
crease right
and
up,
the
and that
car.
can do.
And then you see, you are Pinland
no,
like,
no.
but Pinland sold the story. Come, you ain't gonna sweat no more, my brother. You ain't gonna sweat no more. All right.
Crease right up in air conditioning. No more linoleum, eh?
You understand?
Carpet wall.
All right. And that was a mistake. That the story should have been, my brother, it's time to sweat. It's time to sweat, and it's sweat for yourself, not for the master. This sweat is our sweat for our things, for our country. We gonna sweat like we never sweat before. That should have been the message.
Well, he did say some of that in one of his fireside chats, John.
Yeah,
I
but
would
maybe-
say, and
yeah,
I would dare say,
I
and
hear
remind you,
but
that
the-
he did
but
say.
the message that carried, Steve.
But what I'm saying is, he did say, look, now that we're an independent nation, it's time for us to put our shoulder to the wheel and build this country. It's time for us to really go to work. There's no time for us to slack off. I remember that.
Yeah, Steve, you remember that, but that ain't the message that carried. So
Well,
maybe
I see
that's
your point.
Okay.
I see your point.
Okay.
It is the message of that was not really so proclaimed, that was carried by the fact that this is what the perception is. This is what you could be. Go for it, boy. Do your thing. Get off that hard wooden floor and get yourself a nice place and with some wall.
You ain't got to sleep on no.
But you can owe the man. You can owe the man, but at the same time, you're living comfortable.
Okay.
And if you keep your mouth shut, that they ain't gonna take it from you. Anyway.
Okay. So we went from a proud ownership-based society to a debt society. And we stuck in that.
Yeah. Well, we have done a number of things incorrectly. We never switched up to Stafford Sides model in tourism. We are still playing around with this economy because we don't believe in our people, not really. And this is excessive governments and successive leadership. That's what the problem is. Now, we've got new people on the scene who is talking a different talk, want to walk a different walk, but somehow beholden to this old way of doing things. That's what has to be broken.
Steve,
That's what Miles Monroe was talking about, with new people rising up that you'd never see, that the old armor that kept the country can't keep it no more.
It's the economic slavery. It's the debt slavery that has the new people chained.
Still neutralized.
Still chained.
We got to break those chains.
You have to break those chains.
Yeah.
And the way to break those chains is through ownership.
Yeah. Hold tight. We've got calls on the line. I've got Anton. I've got Kevin and others. Let me take Kevin on line one. How are you? Welcome to the show. This is Hard Copy. Kevin, are you there? Okay, let's go here. Anton, how are you?
Hi, good afternoon, Brother McKinney. How are you?
All is well, sir.
I am good, thank you. Good afternoon to the nation as well. I don't know if you have a guest or if Bonfrey was on telephone, but good afternoon to Bonfrey as well.
No, Bonfrey is live with me.
you.
He's live with me.
Okay, good afternoon.
Yeah.
This is a very, very necessary conversation that is taking place right now, Brother McKinney, and I thank you very much for it. Okay. I want to point out, I heard you all making a very critical point a few moments back. Hello?
Yes, we're listening to you.
Okay, speaking to the World Bank, places like the World Bank, Inter-American Bank, I want to add places like the Inter-Caribbean Development Bank, organizations such as WTO, CSME, et cetera, et cetera. They all have their own agendas to suit their own purpose.
Yes.
And the point that you were making, I completely agree with. We must design agendas that suit and advance our nation and our purpose.
That's correct.
The bottom line. And in order to do that, those words aren't as simple as speaking. That's going to take great testicular fortitude, great and strong and determined and consistent backs that won't bend or won't break. So the precious, so money to them. In addition to that, when we look at, as Bonfrey would have said, we didn't arrive to this point with this administration or today, not even over the last two administrations. However, what is very, very important to note is when you look at successive government's deficit spending, for instance, you had a Perry Christie-led PLP government of 2002 to 2007, which did an impeccable job expanding the economy and reducing the deficit, so much so that it was spoken about widely, even in Parliament, by the former Prime Minister, Honorable Hubert Ingram. Okay? Then when you look at the global recession, which contributed somewhat, but then you look at, for instance, the measure of stop, review, and cancel, which worsened the global economy. You look at the road improvement disaster project, which worsened the crisis that was being experienced globally, because it affected so many businesses that were already operating on a limb and on pins and needles. And when you look at the amount of spending that took place, Brother McKinney, Born Free Nationalist, under the former administration led by Hubert Ingram and to the nation, when you look at the amount of spending that took place, immediately upon taking office, the current Perry Christie administration had to borrow $500 million. It was necessary in order for us just to pay the bills that were left behind. And so when you look at deficit spending, and you look at what the Perry Christie administration current has been able to achieve, I think that we are moving in the right direction. Now, Brother McKinney and the nation, Born Free Nationalists, we can't get away from the downgrade. Okay, that was a culmination of the $500 million that we had to borrow just to pay bills, and then the money that we had to go back to borrow to carry forward because of that debt that we had incurred as a nation. But when you look at the amount of money that the deficit has been reduced by, it tells you, by and large, that we are moving in the right direction, reducing that debt by about 2/3, okay, or $300+ million, which is incredible, okay? And so I'm making that point to say to Born Free Nationalists that while I agree that to some degree new leadership is required, when you look at what is happening currently and you give the rightful credit where it is actually due, you would honestly state and recognize that we are moving in a very positive direction. Now let's take this over another 2 to 3 years. Can you imagine how much more we can chip into that deficit spending? Can you imagine if the nation really unites and not play politics with this downgrade? If we unite behind our current administration, if we support them, if we let them know of our concerns, if we stand up together to get the things done that we need to have done to advance our agenda as the Bahamas, as Bahamians, how much more we can accomplish with this administration. I just want to say, let me tell you what, in spite of whatever is facing this nation, I have faith. I believe in God. This is a God-fearing nation. Our Prime Minister is a God-fearing man. Our Deputy Prime Minister, their cabinet, are God-fearing people. And I think that they are on the right track, and God won't leave us. There's always a storm before your greatest breakthrough. And that's how I view this situation right now. And so I don't want to paint to the nation no picture, and I don't want anyone with the voice to upset the nation to paint the doom and gloom. Let's hold hands, let's join together, let's bind together, and let's make it happen. Just like Born Free started to say, let's bring the accountability measures out in full effect. Let's give the government a full day's work for a full day's pay. Let's continue to spend the money and get maximum value. Let's continue to advance the agenda of the Bahamas. And by 2017, we would be in a much better position. The wheels would really start to turn around. That's all I want to say to the nation. Thank you for your time, gentlemen, and God bless you all.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Anton. Not bad, but he's saying there's some things there that we need to take a look at. And one of those things is that nobody is going to play politics with this and shouldn't. I agree with that because it is a bigger picture. We're nationalists and we speak from that premise. And so the point is this, John Bostwick, when you look at what he's talking about the kind of progressive moves that have been made, I say to you, John Bostwick, as I say to Brother Anton, is that the government of the Bahamas had no choice in the matter. There was deficit spending that they met. They had to go and get that money, $500 million. That's fine. The point is that was on their watch that they had to do that to continue to keep pace and do what they did. Now, that is not to say there's blaming or pointing finger. The fact of the matter is that I say they had to do it, and they better had done it, because had they not do what they did, we would have been in a worse off position as far as not being able to service the debt, not being able to do what we were supposed to be doing. So That is not to say that's a big credit for a feather in the cap for the Christie administration. This is government. Governments are continuous, and we have to do what we have to do to hold the line.
Steve, I appreciate Antoine's comments, but I don't credit this Christie administration with having retarded our debt in any shape, form, or way.
Fine. Yeah.
All right.
I think I'm saying the same thing.
They implemented VAT and they were able to get some revenue to address some of the recurrent expenditure. But outside of that, they have increased government expenditure. I started to go through the budget. This government, as far as I'm concerned, they haven't even been responsible enough to come and present the budget properly to the people of the Bahamas.
Yeah, an indictment.
Okay? That's an indictment. The Minister of Finance has yet to speak conclusively and wrap up the budget debate. Okay? The Minister of National Security, leader of government business in the House, hasn't addressed. The Minister of Works hasn't addressed the country. No, I don't give them that. The Auditor General is at war with this administration over what? Expenditure. Okay? Some of the points that I started to point out, but I am the only member of the FNM who has come to a radio station to address the budget. Okay? And I address the fact that they've increased public expenditure across the board. Almost every ministry has got an increase in their allowances and emoluments. Come on, man. No.
Everybody's deaf.
No.
Playing crazy.
No. I don't accept that. I do not accept that. Okay? That's misinformation. I got some misinformation that we're going to clear up at the end of this show too, because we are responsible. No. I don't accept that, Stephen, but I do accept what he has said at the beginning of that, is that we are being bullied. We're being pushed left and right by foreign entities, by the WTO, by the World Bank, by the IMF, by the IDB, by the Caribbean Development Bank. Yes, we are being bullied and pushed and hemmed and hawed. The road works, going to an Argentinian group, that wasn't us. That wasn't our decision. We were directed as to where you want the money, you're going to use them. Okay? We need to take control of our destiny. It's like being a 40-year-old man and being told where to sit down. If you're in that position, then you deserve that. If you're a 40-year-old man and anybody could walk up to you and say, sit down over there and shut up, and you have to do that, go in that corner.
Over the decades, John, we've been willing parties to this thing that we are now involved in.
Okay? Don't be surprised when that same fella come back 2 days later and tell you, you know what? Get it from there and go over in that corner and shut up and shake.
Yeah.
And that's what we're dealing with.
Let me take 2 quick calls and I want to run to the break. I've got to do this. Hard copy, how are you?
How are you, Mr. McKinney?
Very good, thanks. Knowledge, eh?
Good evening to you, Mr. Bosley.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen, and others like you. You can't get tired and fed up with it because
we get not only tired, we're getting weary.
Yeah,
we're going to hold the fort as long as we could.
But see, it's still some people who still sleeping. You heard what you said just now. You got people who ordering all kind of foolishness. They see as far as you could see.
No.
And so when people like you gentlemen speak, you make it cause somebody to see a little further down the road than what they might just be thinking about right now. And so you can't give up the dialogue because there's always people that have their eyes open, sir. What really prompted me to call was when you were talking about the outside toilet situation. And every time when I hear people bring that up, I mean, the back of my elbow itch, because the last administration, the FNM administration and Mr. Hubert Ingram, I thought he fixed that. I think it was under them that the outside toilet situation actually became illegal, right?
Did it?
Yes, the outside toilet, there's no building that's supposed to have outside toilets. Remember when everybody who was a landlord was forced to add a toilet onto their apartment if they rented it out? That was illegal from the last FNM.
Well, the proliferation of outside toilets are still there, and it's growing and it's existing.
No, I'm not saying, sir, that it isn't there. Because it's illegal, anybody living in those kind of circumstances have the right to call the man, call the police, because you are not supposed to be renting or living in any establishment where you have a separate toilet on the outside. Is illegal, and so you have recourse. If you rent an apartment like that, anybody could call the police and have their landlord dealt with. The second thing that you said, sir, about cars, and it is a lot of cars on the road, but who wants to be the one that says, you know what, I'm just going to bite the bullet and not have a vehicle. A vehicle is just so essential in
Yeah,
just the
because we
average
don't have a
lifestyle
proper,
of anybody from
because
a
of
corporate.
poor development. We don't have a proper busing system. If you had an adequate busing system, I told my wife yesterday, vexed with all the traffic, trying to get in an area, all these roads with all this water on it, all this poor stuff that we have. I said, if there was a proper busing system, and I said this after I'm trying to get through, the bus come around me, wet up the whole car, and everything almost drowned me, me and my little wife, right? And he ain't checking, he's speeding. I'm saying if there was a proper busing system, then I would catch the bus.
You
We
know,
wouldn't
that
need no
makes so
car.
much sense because
But
sometimes
the busing system is more crazy than the way they drive in Mexico.
and your job only but 3 miles from where you live anyhow. So if you felt safe, then and it was timely and everything was organized, I'm sure more people would take that
See,
route.
that's just it. We need to plan and develop the country for the Bahamas and for Bahama. We got a lot of work to do, but we seem to be just comfortable with the way things are and trying to improve upon madness. I don't get it.
That's
But
I think it was a gentleman your show called yesterday. You know, when we say you know, it ain't that easy. It ain't that easy and it ain't that hard either, because that's your job as leaders. You're supposed to see a problem and try to figure it out. You can't just get there and say, boy, it's hard, hey, we got so much to fix. Okay, vote for me next time. I have a problem with that. And when I speak, I speak upon the part of us Bahamians and our living standard, because I think progress, just for the sake of progress, that should be discouraged. Because if you so-called having progress, right, and it's negatively affecting the lifestyle of Bahamians,
Understood.
then you need to rethink that, because as Mr. Boswick said, years gone by, you had people who made less, had less education, but they had man, when a young man was
Better quality
22,
of life.
he was already thinking about putting his foundation down and getting a piece of land.
Or then have this built.
Now, this kind of
Still
time,
that way in
this
Long
kind of
Island.
law would come in a couple of days, what this government bring in. Now, you ain't going to be able to even have an old car. You will be forced to have a new car and go through the bank, because you will only be able to bring in something 10 years old, and when you
Yeah.
reach the bank, they
Your
can tell
point-
you, we
your
only lend
point-
it for 5 years old.
Your
That's
point
a
is
double.
well
So
taken.
the standard of living right now for somebody who have a car is gonna be more expensive to even own a vehicle.
Yes.
You still have the 30-year-old living with his parents, trying to wait for them to dead or show some symptoms of senility so he could put them in the funeral in the old folks' home just to get their land. The standard of living Bahamian has gone down, and for me, we head in the wrong direction. We got 2 and 3 jobs, but still can't pay the bills and make ends meet. Something wrong with that in my book, and the people in charge need to fix it. We don't need no politics in this. We need to say, boy, we hating, let's do something about it. I'm off the mic.
I appreciate your call, and he said a whole lot, John, and a lot of them resonate with the average folk. And that's where we're trying to target. You see, there are people who understand what is going on. They understand this downgrading. You don't need to explain it to them. But there are many of our brothers and sisters in a wide majority of our country who don't really understand how this would impact them, how this would eventually affect them, except that you explain to them the bottom line is man will feed it in his pocket, when he realized that that dollar really ain't a dollar in his pocket. And he's so used to it being a dollar, like the American dollar, that we went par dollar 1979 on this particular day in history. Did you realize that?
Yep.
On this day in history, we went par dollar 1979 with the United States dollar.
I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
I didn't know that.
The 26th day of August.
Is this also the anniversary of the founding father's death to it?
It is.
It's a very powerful day in the Bahamas.
It's a very powerful day. And
Very
this is also the
significant
day
day.
that we're debating this.
This is the day we've been downgraded to just above junk-born status.
Absolutely.
Isn't that very serious when you think about it? All those things lining up.
Mhm.
That's interesting. Steve.
And then we got a storm that's coming too. And you see, when I hear storms, people could really picture what an economic storm is. When you hear a storm, you got to get ready. You got to batten down. You got to buy lumber.
That's right.
You're going to help people to price gouging. You got to be prepared for that. What's the policies in place? You got to listen to the radio. There are things that you do in the process of when you are in a state of emergency because of an impending something coming.
Yes,
Well, we
sir.
got an economic storm coming. What are you doing? Are you still ordering offline and bringing things in through these freight services and paying all this money just to get a pretty little blouse? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Steve, people are still buying outfit for the weekend.
I know.
They ain't gonna wear that same shirt they had on last week, you know. They can't wear that again in the club.
Mm-mm.
They wear that last week. That brand new polo what they had on the club this week, they wearing that in the yard Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Out Saturday night, brand new. Sunday morning, they in the yard washing the car and that shit because they ain't wearing that no more in the club. They got to buy a new one next week.
Just go online and order.
Okay. This is madness.
Fathers, hide your credit cards. This is the first bulletin from hide your credit
Steve, it ain't fathers, hide your credit cards. These banks are writing people as soon as they get a job, come for your card. It's a debt-based society.
You see, you feel like you got status, and all of this, and you become a part of this consumer madness that you are just a consumer. Come, son, play your role.
Come get your credit
and bring that money on payday.
Come start living in the future. We are working today to pay tomorrow's debt. It's a madness. It's madness. So when we sit down and we look at this, he says outside toilets are illegal. You call your land. Think about the person who's in a situation where they could only afford to rent a place of that standard.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to rent that type of accommodation.
Yeah.
But you need shelter.
Yeah.
So they find themselves in a situation in a slum landlord's hands. And there is no toilet. They may know that's a building permit infraction. I go and report him. His fix for that is to tell me to move. All right. Or I get evicted.
That's the landlord.
Okay. Or the police or the Ministry of Works comes along and says, this is illegal. You can't have this. Everybody out. Wait a minute.
Chief, this is all I got. I could only afford $1 a day or $10 a day.
What do? I move from there into the slum landlord next door. Okay. Because I need shelter. Right. Because is the law going to be able to levy and leverage and really move on that person to make him install bathrooms, to make him upgrade those facilities? Because that's what should happen.
That's what should happen.
Okay. The fix could not be everybody out. And that's what people fear who are in that situation. That's what they fear.
And there sure are a lot of people getting in that particular
Steve, I don't know if the government has corrected it, but while I walked through Bain and Grandstown in that last election, government buildings where the toilets are overflowing and have been overflowing for months, going on years, to the point where the toilets, the effluent is dripping from upstairs, downstairs, in people's kitchen. Government has houses and apartments under rent in those conditions, and I pray God they've addressed it since.
No maintenance.
Okay.
And where there's no maintenance, there are problems.
Okay, so see, when you look at that, that's a problem. Public transport, yes, that's a problem, Steve. But you see, they go and they pass these measures, and just like the gentleman said, it now means that even the middle income people cannot afford to buy a decent car. You don't do that unless and until you've put into place a viable, reliable, safe public transport system.
We talked for the last 3 governments about that.
Public transport system. And the fact it is, we've got 300 or so omnibus franchise holders who are privately employed, who are racing from stop to stop because their income is based on how many people they can get on that bus. So what you have done is you created a system that is anarchy. Of course, the man is going to drive like a lunatic. Of course, he's going to race and overtake.
And count money while he's on the steering wheel.
Count money while he's on. Of course, he's going
trying
to do that.
Separate what is his and what is the own.
What bus driver anywhere on the planet Earth is privately employed?
We got to bring it together.
Is self-employed.
We've got to bring it together.
That's not a public transportation system. That's not a municipal system.
So when is Glenys Hanna Martin on this watch going to get this thing done? Because we've been talking about it. We've been talking about it.
Ministers of transport have been talking about talking. At least they haven't been so flippant as ministers of finance who would say we can borrow, we can't borrow no more. Okay?
They're in that category yet.
Yes.
I've got to run to the break, John. My producer's showing me that we've got to go and pay these bills. This is Hard Copy. We're coming back. 325-0235 or 6. 325-0242 or 43. 325-0252 or 53. Line up. Let's talk. See, you thought that this downgrading just meant that the government looked bad and we could play politics. We ain't playing no politics. You're getting a reality check as to what it really means, how worse it could be, and how you as a person in the Bahamas, an individual, a family, can pull your stuff together and, tighten your belt. Because this willy-nilly spending, this squandering that we're doing is not going to get you any blessings. I don't care how much you decide to go to church and pray and you squandering, nothing happening, because we are in a very, very, very precarious time, very serious and compelling times. It's coming home now to your own little pocket. And even if you're drinking 6 Guinness a day, you better cut it down to 2. And if you're smoking 4 packs a day, you better stop smoking. because you don't need no medical bill on top of what's going on. And no, this is not doom and gloom. This is a reality check on what is happening. We have not managed this country. You have not managed your own homes. You still think that growing crabgrass is a good thing. Well, I don't buy peppers. I don't buy sweet peppers. I don't buy onions. I don't buy carrots. I don't buy tomatoes. None of those things. It's a big savings because you dig up your crabgrass and you're planting something which you could eat. Now, that's real talk. We're back in a minute.
Commonwealth Bank approves loans for tuition, uniforms, school supplies, travel, or computers. And this year, we have Summer Madness specials that make it even easier.
At Commonwealth Bank, I was automatically approved for a CB MasterCard.
As a special bonus, get automatically approved for a CB MasterCard or a CB SunCard MasterCard. Plus, get a chance to win a travel voucher valued at $2,200.
Thanks, CB.
Thanks, CB.
Thanks, CB. Thanks, CB.
Thanks, CB.
Commonwealth Bank, leader in personal banking services.
New Oriental Cleaners insist that you look your best for back to school. Get a jump start. Bring in 5 pieces of uniform clothing and get $5 off. Only at New Oriental Cleaners. It's our Bring 5, Get 5 promotion for back to school. You bring in 5 pieces of uniform clothing and you get $5 off. What a deal. Go back to school looking your best with New Oriental Cleaners. Keeping you looking good is our pride and joy. Like us on Facebook and be the first to know about our big savings and promotions.
The best insurance in town is Advantage Insurance on Collins Avenue. They are simply the best because they provide easy, affordable insurance rates for home, car, business, or whatever is valuable or important to you. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, is the fastest, most progressive insurance company in the Bahamas because they really take care of you by making insurance totally affordable. Call them now at 356-0285 or 6 or email them at info@advantagebahamas.com.
Commonwealth Bank approves loans for tuition, uniforms, school supplies, travel, or computers. And this year, we have Summer Madness specials that make it even easier.
At Commonwealth Bank, I was automatically approved for a CB MasterCard.
As a special bonus, get automatically approved for a CB MasterCard or a CB SunCard MasterCard. Plus, get a chance to win a travel voucher valued at $2,200.
Thanks, CB.
Thanks, CB.
Thanks, CB. Thanks, CB.
Thanks, CB.
Commonwealth Bank, leader in personal banking services.
When Steve talks, people listen. People listen. People listen. Welcome back. This is Hard Copy on this 26th day in the month of August. I'm Steve McKinney. Of course, we're watching that weather for you. We've been telling you about that tropical storm that's out there in the tropics. And, of course, she goes by the name of Erica. And she is growing. And now there are some new updates that we have from the Department of Meteorology. We're going to go live to the Department of Meteorology right now at Nassau International Airport and talk with the duty forecaster on deck today, Wayne Neely. Wayne, how are you this afternoon?
I'm good, Steve. A bit busy, but good.
I understand. I know you've just gotten the latest bulletin and issue. Where are we now? Are we under alert yet?
Yes, we right now we have a tropical storm watch in effect for the Turks and Caicos Islands and the Southeast Bahamas. And the tropical storm watch, that's the islands view, keeping track, that's the island of Inagua, Migona, Auckland, Crooked Island, Ragged Island, and like I said, the Turks and Caicos Islands. Mm-hmm. And we have a tropical storm alert now in effect for the islands of Exuma, Keys, and its Keys, Cat Islands, and Salvador, Rum Key, and Long Island. And basically, Steve, a tropical storm, what basically means that you could anticipate tropical storm conditions within the warning area, generally within 48 hours. Mm-hmm. And a tropical storm alert means that tropical storm conditions could be experienced within 60 hours. Mm-hmm. And if you're keeping track on Erica, right now Erica is still a tropical storm. It was set in their latitude 16.6 degrees north, longitude 58.9 degrees west, or some 1,304 miles southeast of Nassau, 975 miles southeast of Inagua, and 880 miles southeast of Grand Turks in the Turks and Caicos Islands. And Erica right now, the speed has remained the same. Basically, it's still moving at the west at 17 miles per hour, and a west
northwest motion with a slightly slower forward speed expected during the next 48 hours and over the next couple of days. On the forecast track, Erica will continue to move away from the Bahamas. Erica will continue to move through the Bahamas until at least on Monday morning. And right now, if you're keeping track, right now we anticipate Erica to impact the Southeast Bahamas sometime on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. It should influence the Turks and Caicos Islands, and about by 11 a.m. it should influence the Southeast Bahamas. And the track initially for the last 24 hours, the track has moved somewhat. They've shifted it further eastward, which means now that it takes it a direct path over the island of New Providence, which is extremely rare. But we expect it to experience the brunt of the storm at 2 p.m. on Sunday. So, and you should start to get, and the problem with this storm, it's not going to be much of a wind event. Right now it's being shared, it's still in unfavorable atmospheric conditions, and it's still being shared apart, and still experiencing area of dry air, what we call African dust, which basically zaps the moisture of the storm. But once it gets past the Windward and Leeward Islands, it's going to, and gets north of Puerto Rico, it should start to strengthen somewhat. And we here in the Bahamas, initially yesterday we had it forecast to become a Category 1 storm, but the models have readjusted. Now it's now right now the models have adjusted, and now it's now basically having a forecast to be a tropical storm once it comes through the Bahamas. And just as it leaves the Bahamas, we anticipate it to become a hurricane. That's 2 p.m. on Monday. It should be basically over the Okeechobee region at 2 p.m. on Monday in Florida area.
So when it's on the trajectory that is on now, since it's shifted to the east, it puts New Providence or Nassau right within the path, which is unusual with this particular tracking. You're saying that by 11 a.m. Thereabouts, we should be feeling some effects of this, and as it passes across us, it will develop into a hurricane, which means it's gaining strength as it comes towards us.
Yes, as it comes. What happened is that right now, like I said, the sun is being shared apart, and that's why if you've been following the track of Erica for the last 2 days, they initially had it as a Category 1 storm.
Yes, they did.
Coming through the Bahamas, but that it's being shared apart much more than we had forecasted or anticipated to become shared apart. But that's now what's occurring now. But once it gets just north of Puerto Rico, it should start to strengthen somewhat. And the waters are pretty warm. And once it gets past that unfavorable atmospheric conditions, the winds in our atmosphere a bit weak. Right now it's being shared from winds from the west at about 15-20 knots in the upper atmosphere, which basically interrupts the breathing process of the storm. But once it gets past, like I said, once it gets just north of Puerto Rico, it should start to increase in strength. The share should start to deplete, and it's going to move out of the area of the dry air. And that's going to give it now, now has moisture, and it now has
there's a lot of,
to strengthen. And with that, you expect to experience winds of 39 to 73 miles per hour, which is still a lot. And at that speed, you can get debris flying through the atmosphere. You can have debris. You can have chairs being picked up in that wind speed and become missiles. So it still has the potential to do some damage. And like I said, it's going to be more of a flood event than a rain event. Than a wind event.
Yeah, more rain. Lots of rain.
For the last 24 hours, we had 2.99 inches of rainfall. A typical hurricane gives you about 6 to 8 inches of rainfall during the period of comes through the Bahamas. But with this storm, we're anticipating winds of 3 to 5 inches with maximum amounts of 8 inches from Erica. And so we do anticipate, and right now the ground is already saturated. So right now the water has nowhere to go, and so it's going to be a flood-prone event. And I've been driving around, I guess like you, Steve, been driving around New Providence, and New Providence is basically underwater now. And
we can't take no more.
Make that a little worse. Make that add to that factor, and that's the problem that we're going to be worrying about.
So I understand this is very wet. The outer bands of it extend to the point.
It's much bigger than Danny. If you were following Danny, Danny died a slow and painful death. Danny was shared apart and dry. The African dust. Typically, you don't normally get the African dust during this kind of time. This is time that you have the peak of the hurricane season. This is when the conditions are ideal for the storms to grow and thrive. But unusually, this year has been unusually. Normally by June, early July, you should start see the depletion of this African dust. But somehow this year is now the 26th of August and it's still around. It's unusual, but it's just something that we're working with, and it's something that we're watching, but it's part of the process that we're following that impacting the storm. So we're watching that, and it's unusual, but it's something that we're watching.
So we're looking at tropical storm alert 60 hours out from now. You're looking at those areas like Exuma, Cat Island, Rum Key, Long Island.
Sometime by tomorrow, we do anticipate probably a watch for New Providence and the Northwest Bahamas. Sometime probably by tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening or first thing on Friday morning.
I understand. So we're looking for a lot of stormy weather, to put it lightly,
so we do advise you,
this weekend.
This storm is changing, the dynamics is changing significantly. So we do advise you to stay tuned to this radio station to get future alerts from the system safe. And you've been doing an excellent job keeping the public abreast about this storm, and continue to do well.
I appreciate it. Thank you kindly. Yeah, sorry. One question before you go, Wayne.
One quick question, sir. This storm is approaching New Providence from due south. Is that correct?
From the southeast.
From the southeast.
Yes.
Is there any concern of, and you said it's going to be a wet storm.
Yes.
Is there any concern about surges?
Yes. Well, you're going to, like I said, with this storm, it's a tropical storm. The surge is going to be minimum, but that's not going to, the problem is going to be the rainfall.
Yeah.
Like I said, we had a surface to mid-level trough for the last 2 days. That's been dumping rain on the capital. And like I said, that
was the
dumped
precursor.
2.99 inches within 24 hours. And prior to that, it dumped 0.47 inches over capital. So the ground is already saturated. So what means once that rain comes from the remnants of Danny and Erica, that has nowhere to go into the ground, so it only could flood the area.
Let me ask you this.
It's going to hamper the rainfall amounts in New Providence and throughout the Bahamas.
Wayne, I suppose, considering that school is supposed to open on Monday,
yes,
which is the end of this month, thereabouts, would it mean then that we may be looking at a number of things being pushed back, considering the kind of rain the rainfall that we anticipate? And if this Erica continues to pick up and get into the warm waters and really suck up that water and become more wet and dump that on us where we have already saturated, we could have all kinds of water on the ground between Thursday and Monday morning.
Yes, that's a real possibility.
So now
in terms of the closure of schools, that would be a decision by the
of course, I know
Director
that.
of Education.
I know
don't
that.
want to preempt
No,
that.
I understand that, but I'm saying the
definitely
conditions.
That would be a big factor. You're going to have significant flooding from the system. And the problem is that we have a high pressure to the north of the area, so which means that it's going to take it directly over the Bahamas, and that high pressure is preventing it from going out to sea. So basically means it's going to
keeping us confined right across our archipelagos, which you're saying.
Directly in part of it. And initially, for the last 3 days, it had the storm due east of the Bahamas, and the right front quadrant, which is the strongest quadrant of the storm, basically over the eastern islands, which was Abaco, Eleuthera, and Eastern Grand Bahama, and Cat Island. But now it has it directly central, that passes directly over capital, and so which means that most of the islands are going to get basically the brunt of the storm itself, the brunt of the tropical storm.
One more question, Mr. Neely. Is there any chance that it can track further west, stay to the south, and move aggressively west between the Bahamas and Cuba?
It has the last 12 hours, it had it further west. But the latest model, that the 5 p.m. forecast,
I turned to the east.
Shifted it further east.
Because you know,
and it's nothing unusual about a storm movement. Every 6 hours, the storm changes because the environment constantly changes. For example, one of the things that they didn't anticipate is the significant amount of shear that's taking place within the system. And the dry air was anticipated, but the amount of wind shear that they're getting, which is basically tearing the system apart. With a hurricane or tropical storm, what you have what we call low-level convergence, upper-level divergence. It basically means it's like a chimney. For that hurricane or tropical storm to function properly, it must have winds going up from the base of the clouds, thunderstorm clouds, going up into the atmosphere and releasing that heat into the upper atmosphere and create basically a cycle, or what we call a heat engine. And once that takes place, you will have a system thriving and strengthening. But once it is inhibited, and in this case with dry air, which zaps the moisture, and the shear which tears the system apart, which basically prevents it from growing higher up into the upper atmosphere, that's going to prevent it from growing and strengthening. But like I said, once it gets north of Puerto Rico, the system starts to be a bit more ideal for the system to strengthen. But the problem is, by the time it gets to the Bahamas, it's not going to strengthen enough to make it become a
hurricane.
Category 1 storm, which they had initially planned about 2 days ago.
Amen. So for the praying people, pray that you go west.
Yes.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Well, listen, Wayne Neely, we appreciate it very much, very kindly for your insight and your expertise in helping us understand what we're dealing with. We do know, bottom line is that those of us who are in low-lying areas had better prepare, get the necessary things that we're going to need. We may have to move out of some of those areas based upon what we're looking at. And so we're going to be able to give hurricane shelters and stuff by some of those designated places later on as time moves on. But we appreciate what you've given us thus far. We know that there's a thunderstorm, that there's a tropical storm alert for those areas in Exuma, Cat Island, Rum Key, Long Island, and of course in the more central Bahamas, and certainly Turks and Caicos right now under a watch, which is within a 48-hour belt that can happen in that particular area. The eastern islands of the Bahamas, southeast islands of the Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos right now are watching under the storm watch, and hopefully everything will go nice and smooth, but we'll wait and see what the next weather forecast is going to look like. I thank you very much, Wayne Neely. We appreciate it. All the best. Thank you kindly. Wayne Neely from the Department of Meteorology, and keeping us posted on where we are, and that's just what we have to do to make sure that people know exactly what is happening. So you know now, John Bostwick, that lots of rain considered in the forecast. The island's already saturated with water from that upper level trough that we had remnants of Danny, and now we see more weather coming, more rain coming because of the outer bands of this particular one, and this whole thing will pass across most of New Providence, covering most of the archipelago in its path. So everybody will feel a good bit of this 35 to 75 miles per hour wind, which is still at that level, a tropical storm. We'll watch and see as the days come.
Steve, maybe we need to start calling these storms S&P.
Moody's. Because really, truly, I mean,
understand?
This one is called Erica. The next one we'll call S&P, because we are under S&P now, and we're under a storm watch now from S&P.
Exactly.
Isn't that right?
Exactly.
And S&P has already forecasted that, boy, this one is rated at what? What's the trajectory? Triple B what?
Triple B minus, A minus 3.
Yeah, that's not good. And of course, in language of the layman's, that is just simply meaning that we are a level just above, very low
area,
the low quadrant of risk. Junk bond status is the next step.
That's right.
And junk bond status in this case is like it becoming a hurricane.
Yeah, okay, like you say,
we're in the tropical storm
lower,
now.
Medium grade with regard to investment rating.
My God.
From there, it's non-investment grade.
Are we getting ready though for the economic storms? Let's talk with our callers on the line. Hard copy. Thanks for holding. How you doing?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. How you doing?
Oh, it was exciting listening to the weather, but it was long waiting.
Yes, I know, and I apologize, but it's
talking about ways of savings and how people don't want to wear the same thing for the next Saturday. And I want to bring us issues what I've noticed. Parents are dropping the kids to buy the $2 breakfast stand in the morning when they could have made that breakfast and give that kids to eat. And if they really, really want to save, they can buy a pack of grits and cook that and let the kids have the breakfast.
You're dead right about it. I can't disagree with you. And that's called good management of the home, eh?
Right.
Healthy breakfast cooked at home. You know what's in it. You know it ain't got a bunch of oil and thing. And
Steve, let me play devil's advocate with the caller. You get people in a vicious cycle. I've just come out of being in Grantstown. It may seem like 3 years, but for me, the memories are so fresh. When you get in a vicious cycle, you can't afford gas. You can't replace the stove. You can't repair the stove. You're on a daily hustle. Okay, so I agree with you. A box of grits is $2 and a can of tuna fish, and you mix it up and you could extend it. You could even make a tuna fish sandwich and give them breakfast. But if you're caught in that vicious cycle where you can't even get gas, you hustle the $2 for breakfast. This is a serious thing we're facing, madam.
Getting the $2 breakfast in the morning.
This is because you can't find the $50 to buy the gas canister. Okay, so you were in that vicious cycle where they got people who driving these cars from gas station to gas station. You might say, yeah, they don't deserve a car, and then they should park it or sell it. But they could only afford to get $5 gas. We'll go pull up in the gas station and ask for $2 gas.
My Lord. And we've seen
and
that.
serious as heart attack. And all of us have seen that.
Yeah.
These kids can't go to school unless they get a name brand shoes, $120 shoes.
That's another thing. We have to stop that. We've got to learn how to budget. I agree with that. And everybody wants their little Johnny and their little Sally to look pretty good.
Because
and all
we're
that.
only
And
concerned about material appearances.
Well, this is the whole idea of trying to better do a physical management. We've got to manage better than we have been doing. We've not been getting good examples, and we've not set good examples either. And our children, the ones that we're making sure they get the name brands today, they're the ones tomorrow who are going to be parents and do the same things. A vicious cycle, as John says. We've got to know how to break that, and that's a curse. And the way we do that is by, tough love. This is what it is. You can't have it. End of story.
I usually get the parents, instead of buying a $27 iron, they send the children to laundry to get the uniform pressed. All of these things I noticed. And do you know where Carmichael Road Primary School is?
Yes, I do.
Do you know where the Diplomat Center is?
Yes.
Well, even I could even say the more FM radio station.
Yeah, I know.
I see kids standing there in the morning to catch the bus to go to Carmichael Road Primary.
Yeah.
And that's the 50 cents they can save.
Yeah.
Less than a mile away.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm happy that you called me. I want you to share some of those experiences with our lady here, Virginia Smith. She's been doing a number of things on back to school between 11 in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's quite interesting because people need to hear mama and persons like yourself who are understanding these harsh economic times, speak truth to power, and encourage people to do some of those things that you've said. But I appreciate your call, and I thank you very much for it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. All the best. Okay. A hard copy. How you doing?
Steve, how are you?
Peace and love. I'm in good shape.
Good, man. Mr. Bostwick, how are you?
Good day, sir.
Hey, let me first of all say, Mr. Bostwick, just my opinion, you're going to make the most impact on this town, not under any umbrella that calls itself the FNL. That's just my personal belief.
I hear you, sir.
You heard that before?
Yes, I have.
Right now, that's not where you're going to be most impactful. Now, to your point with regards to those external forces, the World Bank, the IMF, the IDB, that's all fine and good. But when you have administration after administration, and just recently, let's use this one, the 12 million we used for the big party. I mean, let's call that what it is.
Jumping down, Jim.
Our refusal to...
$3 million for Stronger Bahamas.
Okay, there you can see. Now
You
you're
can keep going, you know.
Okay, yeah, let me finish. I got you. The failure to collect property taxes, casino taxes. When you have administrations doing those things, what do you expect, truly? If you can manage and deal with your affairs in your house, then those external forces that you deal with, they will come home to collect.
No question.
Something to think about.
No question. Listen, I appreciate your call. I hadn't heard from you for days. What's been happening? He's gone. Yeah. Anyway, good points, and as usual. Patrick, how you been?
Hi, Steve.
All is well.
John, how you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Good. I can beat you up, though.
Go ahead.
But Patrick, before you start, they told me that you have signed up to join the immigration department.
I haven't, but I will if I could.
They're gonna have reservist immigration officers very shortly.
Are they?
I mean, why not? I mean, we need to do something. I mean, I was speaking with a friend of mine on Sunday who's a stalwart counselor, and we were discussing the situation with the boats, right? So I said to him, if your house catches on fire, you have two choices. Are you going to grab a garden hose and try to and call friends and try to contain the fire until a fire truck comes, or are you going to hop in your car and go to Kelly's and buy a fire extinguisher? Because what the current geniuses did, hop in their car and go to Kelly's and buy boats that can't reach.
Yeah.
And the borders are wide open.
My Lord.
But anyway, John.
Yes, sir.
One of them plumbing companies you talking about, you part of.
One of them, I said the same plumbers for 40 years, you know.
I'm sorry?
You heard me say the same plumbers for 40 years. You heard me say that very clear.
But Steve, the country's in a mess.
Mm.
And to be facetious, I don't know which of the geniuses that led us here, which group of geniuses that led us here, the Bahamian people are thinking about putting back in to take us further down this road to ruin.
Yeah.
But I ain't going there.
Yeah, that's a storm within itself.
No. Chief, if you haven't solved my problem in 42 years,
yeah,
I don't think you can solve it in the next 42 years. Time for me to do something different.
I agree with you.
All right? But just a point, what the Bahamas needs to do, because someone called me the other day and asked me what the Bahamas needs to do. I mean, you said it was the people who are doing the survey for Better Bahamas, Stronger Bahamas?
Stronger Bahamas.
Yeah. Well, I had a few things to tell them that I think they didn't like. But anyway, what the Bahamas needs to do in order to get us out or headed in the right direction out of this mess is, first of all, stop the stupidity with of Bahamians not applying and then saying Bahamians first and then put Bahamians last.
Yeah. Be honest is what you're saying.
Yeah, we have to be
real.
owners. We have to become owners of our economy.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't going to work otherwise. Now, we have 5 million tourists or whatever it is, right?
Mm.
We have a resort destination, a so-called world-class resort destination, but people go on vacation to have fun.
Yeah.
In 42 years or 43 years, the geniuses that brought us here haven't put any infrastructure in place for people to spend money on to have fun.
Mm. Well, that's not completely true. They put an infrastructure for online gambling that when they come in, they could use their cell phones to gamble the minute they hit international airports.
Wonderful, wonderful. What I find absolutely amazing, Steve, I'm getting up right now, I know you're busy, is we're sitting here in this little country looking with Florida right across the pond. We watched Disney World mushroom into a mega $1 million.
Disney World wanted to be here, by the way.
I'm sorry?
They wanted to build Disney World here, not Orlando, you know. They were chased away by the father.
Who had other plans. The plans. Now, I'm using the word genius to be facetious because if I say what I really want to say, they ain't going to like it. So we'll call them geniuses, right?
Yeah.
We have geniuses in 42 years who sat back, watched this Disney World grow from a swamp. Those who don't know, Orlando was a swamp. And Walt Disney bought it, filled it in, and created Disney World. And the geniuses on this side of the pond, both administrations, the rocket scientists that we had for government have not yet figured out that the Bahamas needs to be a place for people to come and have fun. And to do that, we need to put in place an infrastructure of amusement parks, of theme parks, of water parks, so forth and so on, so that we can extract money from these people.
I appreciate what you're saying, Patrick. I really do. Thank you for your call.
One of the things that has blocked amusement parks coming to the Bahamas is the doggone cost of electricity. The cost of operating amusement park in the Bahamas is prohibitive simply due to the cost of electricity. And because we would not break the monopoly on fuel supply, we would not break and actually install an effective generation company where we could actually charge fair rates. When you go to Florida, you could pay 9 cents a kilowatt hour. Why are you coming to the Bahamas to pay nearly 50 cents a kilowatt hour?
Yeah.
It makes your numbers unfeasible. And it was one of the things that the developers of Bahama put up front with the government is that there ain't no way they're going to pay 40-something cents a kilowatt hour and they need 35 megawatts. We haven't addressed that yet. With all of the issues going on, we haven't addressed how we could power a major resort, much less an amusement park.
Sparky.
Hello, Stephen. How you doing?
Very good, thanks.
And Mr. Vozick, how you doing today, sir?
Good day, Sparky. I'm well.
Right. Steve, I just really wanted to comment on something you mentioned earlier about when you was telling things about that beautiful little homemade garden you got home.
Yeah.
I glimpsed it one day when I stopped at a stop off of a little CD. But Steve, I don't know if you remember back, I think you was working for More FM then.
Yeah.
When I used to I was living up in Seabreeze then before I moved in Pride State. When I used to do it up in Seabreeze, And I had pumpkins and everything growing on my front fence and
Yeah.
on the outside and the inside of the wall.
Yeah.
And I used to tell the neighbors when they pass, what on the outside they could pick and carry.
Yeah.
What on the inside leave for me, please. And Steve, the funniest thing when you talk about that home, that we refer to it as backyard garden.
Yeah.
When you talk about that, Steve, just jump to when I moved down in Pride Estates in April of 2006. I was the first resident moved down here. And Steve, I had it planned that every 10 feet around the house, I was going to put down a plant, something that would eat.
Yeah.
I could eat.
Yeah.
The ones that go up in the air, you know, like the dillies and the sea grapes and coconuts and thing, I would call them my heavenly food. And the ones on the ground, like the sweet peppers and the cucumbers and tomatoes and thing, I'll call them the earthly food.
Yeah.
You know, the higher and the lower ones. And Steve, the funniest thing is, as the people move down here, I keep telling everybody, I say, instead of planting these bougainvillea and hibiscus and these funny-looking palm and ficus and crabgrass, plant things in your yard we can eat.
Yeah.
And gradually, Steve, just as the story be told, as my trees grew naughty, or some of the majority of them, the heavenly trees are higher than the roof. I started with the avocado,
Excellent.
then I moved to the dilly, then the sea
Excellent.
grape and the mangoes and the
Excellent.
mangolas, and you name it, all the way around the yard, the jujus and the bananas and
Excellent.
the plantains and everything, Steve.
That's what you
know
do.
But nobody listened to me. But Steve, guess what happens now?
They come to
Every
collect.
season, you know, there's a different fruit coming, right?
Yeah.
And Steve, as they come, the neighbors come, and Steve, I still give them away to the shed with the neighbors.
Yeah, you must.
They
You
come
must.
right to me and to Sparky, can I have some of your bananas?
Yeah.
Avocado season now. Sea
Plan the
grape season
food.
now.
Absolutely.
Dilly season now.
Absolutely.
Everybody come. Sparky, do you mind if I get some of this? I say, well, why don't y'all just pick up some of your crabgrass and boil that and eat that? You understand where they coming from, Steve? People don't listen, you know. They rather go to the big man supermarket, like you say, and buy the sweet pepper and buy the gold pepper and the finger pepper. Then they can just drop a seed in the ground and have them all year round. Have a good day.
I appreciate you calling. And what Sparky says is absolutely true. You don't need much to do it, and people need to do it.
Steve, I live on George Street in the heart of town, in the heart of Bay Street.
Yeah.
I grow pumpkin.
Yeah.
Okay. I grow melon.
Yeah.
In George Street.
Yeah. You have
There's
to.
no excuse there.
No excuse.
There's zero excuse.
And it'll help to keep the rodents out the bush down if somebody just clear some stuff and just do it. And you can get seeds from the exchange up here at Portaski for little or nothing. I mean, they've got seeds. I mean, they've got some of the seeds. It's crazy.
Steve, you know how exciting, you know how exciting it is to stand in your window and watch
Yes.
your fruit grow and to see the pumpkin come on the vine and to watch them start to
You know
grow.
how exciting
You know
it is to
exciting
cut a
that
whole
is.
hand of planting and they prettier than anything, not a spot on them. I
And
mean,
the thing is, Steve,
yeah.
testify, it tastes different.
Yes.
It tastes, you could taste
You
the
could
health,
taste
the
nature.
richness,
Yeah,
you could
absolutely.
taste the Bahamas in it.
Yeah.
And you know, it ain't nothing in the shop tastes like that.
And
Nothing in the
my
shop.
little thing, I don't use any fertilizer.
No fertilizer. Zero.
Everything is natural.
And this same soil we can't grow nothing. This soil can't grow nothing.
You know,
When
you
I
know
watch
this
Miss
to
Kemp,
cut broccoli and just steam it right in the pot. That's what the fish from.
it's so exciting.
It's unbelievable.
And it's personally rewarding and satisfying.
Let's do it, Bahamas. This is what we've got to do. And I would like to see agriculture and them tell people to do more of this because we're talking about self-sufficiency. And the country may not be self-sufficient, but if you do in your part, you can cut down tremendously on your food bill. You know, basically in my house, what we are doing is if we shop, it is to get some chicken, some meat and all that thing if you want that. And to the dock to get the fish, you know, fresh
Hold on
fish.
now, Steve. You tell me you killed a rooster the other day.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying no, but my son.
Your own protein as well.
But we have chicken, but I'm saying my son will kill a rooster, and my daughters were like, "Where that rooster gone?" And they say, and they eat, you know, and they ain't tough. And they say, well, this can't be that child. That's Steph, because Steph got out front right now, and she eating the rooster, and that rooster was good because when he put that in the pot and he steamed him down. Look here, that was the best eating we had. And but children, people get caught up with these animals. They don't want them to. They don't want to know they're eating Betsy and things like that, right? But the point is, you can do this. I grew up doing that with my mom and dad on Infantry Road. When it's time for we kill a goat. When you see Daddy put on his coveralls that night and drink half pint of Dark and Mellow, Myers Rum.
You know he going. What's
and he
happening?
then sharpened them knife. All of us sleeping now. Me and my nephew Pablo, we want to stay up to watch this goat get killed, but he ain't gonna let us see. When we drop to sleep, he gone on the side of the house, take that rope, pull that goat up, and do what he got to do. And everybody in the neighborhood got mutton, and we got mutton of this and curry and steam and this and you shared it. See, we are not doing those things now because we're modernized. We don't even believe that you're supposed to even eat them chicken that you see. We get fresh chicken egg, backyard gardening with Keith Mason. Every week we play those
my
programs because it's important. The people here just ain't getting it. Their whole thing, I got to go to the food store, and they complain, boy, the VAT I pay on this. And look here, you can do these things yourself.
You see, Steve, I hope to finish and go back to this downgrading because I do have.
But hold your thought. I've got to do something right now. I've got to run to the break and pay this last commercial load. Then I can go overtime today so we can get that in. No problems. Let's run to the break, Irvin, and pay this last bill. Hang with us. We've got callers on the line. This is a very quick break. I've got to do this because this is how we keep on the air. In just a minute, we're back with Hard Copy.
Great news. We have a chance to experience the magic of the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, courtesy of Visa.
That's great, but did you really need another bathing suit?
I'm just showing my support for the swimming event.
And the skirt?
For the tennis, babe.
So these high heel shoes must be for track and field then.
Of course not. They're for the nightlife. We're going to Rio, aren't we?
It's easy. Get approved for a Visa RBC credit card or use your existing Visa RBC credit or debit card for a chance to win. Visa, worldwide sponsor of the Olympic Games. Call or visit any RBC branch for more info.
Introducing Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited. When in trouble, call us on the double. Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited. We provide bail bonds of $10,000 and higher. Has your loved one been arrested or need bail? No worries, don't stress. Contact the best. Commonwealth Bail Bonds Limited, 1st Street, The Grove, above Bronze Break Center. Telephone 325-8363 or email bailbonds@242@gmail.com.
BTC's commitment to its customers does not only lie in Nassau. We have taken our commitment all the way to the south, where the cable provider has been ignoring the residents for many years.
I live in the Fun City subdivision, and for the past 10 plus years, we have had no cable service whatsoever.
BTC is set to provide residents all across the country with the connection and content they've been lacking. Because you deserve it, BTC is continuing to install all our services across the entire Bahamas.
Entrepreneurs, are you missing out on sales because you don't accept credit card payments? Then BLB has the solution for you. Introducing BLB Mobile Express, the most affordable mobile card processing package for self-employed persons. With BLB Mobile Express, you can accept credit card payments almost anywhere on your smartphone or tablet, so you never have to miss a sale. Get paid on the spot with BLB Mobile Express. Visit any BLB branch or call us at 397-3000. BLB, your bank of solutions.
When Steve talks, people listen. People listen. People listen.
Welcome back. This is Steve Live. John Bostic is with me, and we got right down to the nitty-gritty today, just to what you're supposed to be doing. That's what this whole downgrading thing means. Take stock of what you're doing. If you become an independent individual in your own family, you can save a lot of money and spare yourself, because the country is not in a good position right now, and we're going to get better. I have faith, as Kevin has faith, and Anton has faith, and John has faith. But the reality is that faith without works is dead, and we've got to do some things to make sure that we can shake some things up here. I've got Professor Tink on the line on 3. I've got JJ on 6, and I've got Sam Williams on 1. Let me do it in that order. Sam, how you doing?
How you doing?
Thank you kindly.
Yeah, I have two things I was talking about in this country I'm trying to get the government to do. The Botanical Garden is sitting there doing nothing. I asked them to get together and make a rich foundation. Tourism is our number one in this country. You'll have a lot of people making their last chance to come to the Bahamas. We can fix that place up and make a rich foundation in Botanical Garden. The other one, you remember how long I was pushing for the young man called Victor King?
Yeah.
Over 20 years. Victor King leave the hospital, walk up the steps, a house is on fire. He went in the house, rescued these kids, lost his life, and I'm asking him to put a monument up there with the water tower for the tourists can see that. That's a national hero. Look what they did in Fox Hill. They then went and put something on Fox for those guys who got shot.
Yeah.
Why we can't do that, Steve?
I understand what you're saying. You don't have a bad point. Let me tell you what to do. I think you, Sam Williams, the marathon man, you should partner with entities like Rotary and Kiwanis and those. They'd be happy in a project like that. There are many others who would be happy in a project like that because the government may be totally oblivious to what you're talking about and not interested in that. That's a lot of red tape and whatever else. But if you really want to get this thing going, you yourself, Sam, you've got great influence. You've got to go around and try to see how best you can create the kind of fundraising for it to happen. Don't have to be a big plaque. It could be just some kind of monument that you can put there with a plaque on it, some kind of stone thing. And
your hometown.
Yeah, so I agree with you, and I'd support you on it, okay? You come see me, I'll support you on that because I know of the incident that you speak about. I appreciate it very kindly.
What I'm doing, Steve, I'm getting together now. I'm getting down now. I'm getting some people who can take the Bahamas Loving Care to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So that's looking pretty good.
That's good.
You know, looking pretty good.
And
some young people want to take it to the next level.
I appreciate it, Sam.
But those two, and what I was talking about, government need that for tourism in this country. Look what we got coming in here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But Sam, listen, you take care. I wish you the very best. And I hear you getting down and all that. But we thank you for the work that you've done over the years. Professor Tinker, how are you?
Good. How you doing today, Steve?
Very good. How you doing?
Listen, I wanted to basically just comment on you there. Mr. Boswick, how are you?
I'm very good, sir. How are you?
Good, good. I was able to chat a little bit with your mother and saw your father in McDonald's by COB when I was there the last time.
Yeah, he was at the kitchen cabinet.
Yes.
He was at the kitchen cabinet. Jay
Henry
Henry was
you
there.
learned a lot over there.
Yeah.
But I just really want to say, and Steve, I've been calling from time to time, was on his show, and I've been monitoring things. Everything you guys are saying is so right. But the group that's going to come in to try to do this is not going to happen.
Why not?
Unless we have individuals that put selfless service over self-interest, it's not going to happen. We really have to get people that are serious about spreading the wealth, developing the country, and put selfless service, put country over self to get all this stuff on the road. Because we are so far behind that it's not even funny. We're so far behind where something as planting peas, throwing a corn in your backyard, raising a couple chickens is not in the mindset of the masses. So we are in trouble on an individual level, and we're in plenty trouble at the government level because we've been led blindly, and we've just been playing lucky for the last 40-something years when we really need to get serious. Energy, sustainability, food sustainability, the government having all this land, just holding on it, sitting on it, give it away, 40 acres and a mule, let people develop it, tax them on it. We're just in a situation where things have continued to compact on each other. Now we're scrambling. Now we're getting downgrade because our politicians have not really been over the last 40 years developing us in the right way. And we can look in education. My God, we're down to D. I went to public school in the Bahamas. I went to C.W. Sawyer, then H. Nash, then A.F. Adley. Back then, and you're older than me, you guys are older than me, education was pretty decent. And to be so far off, what went wrong? How are we so far off from our target? Because when we look at what politics and the politicians have been doing, one small class of people have been continuing to get rich. The conflicts of interest have skyrocketed. And Leslie Miller said it the other day on the show. He doesn't see a conflict of interest with the Attorney General because she has the money to do it. So he said, you need $30,000 a month to rent the place. You need $90,000 down to get into the place and need about $500,000 to bill it out. So if you add those numbers up right there, you're roughly at $620,000. That eradicates 80% of your population. So who continues to get rich? Politicians and the 1%ers.
I appreciate what you're saying. We've got to have a conversation when you're back in town, all right?
All righty.
I appreciate your call. John Bostwick, a lot of people are very concerned about all that we are seeing. Are we getting the full impact as to the understanding as to where we are on the national scene, what we ought to be doing? Do you get that impression that the Bahamas is engaged in these kinds of conversation and wanting to be concerned enough to do something about it?
You know, a couple of things right quick, Steve, because I know we are out of time. What do you expect from... I like the Portcake. I actually like him as an aggressive Bahamian. I think he's out of hand and out of order. I think he's gotten away with saying some things and being allowed to remain in a place after having said them that no man should get away with. Whether I like him or not has nothing to do with that. And the fact that he was appointed chairman while owing the corporation not tens of thousands, okay, $100,000+. He's not in a position to express any statement on conflict, with the greatest respect.
Is George Smith in any position?
No, they should all keep their mouth pinned up tight, and other parts of them pin up tighter, with the hope.
He could make the newspapers more than anybody else. George Smith,
with the hope that nobody knocks at their door and holds them accountable one day soon.
Well, Damien Gomez says he's going to revisit a lot of things.
He says he's going to be knocking on the doors. And I've told good Damien, should he need anybody to walk with him, I'd be happy to stand by his side and knock on those doors. Stand by his side, stand behind him, stand in front of him. Because we have to clean house. When my father was the leader of the BDP in 1977, you know what the motto was? Sweep it clean.
Sweep it clean.
And keep it clean. Because corruption was one hell of a stinking dirty problem from then.
Yeah.
And it was eroding the fabric of our society from then.
Yeah.
Okay? For long before then. I took you back to Wallace Groves the other day I was here.
Yeah.
From then. Okay? So we have not yet expelled the pirates. So no doubt that we haven't restored commerce and leveled the playing field.
No, sir.
Okay? So I say with the greatest respect, and I've said it here before, we are living on Animal Farm. George Orwell might as well write the book about the Bahamas. The pigs have become the farmers, and the pigs are sending the hard workers to slaughter. Okay? The pigs have raised some bad dogs to keep everybody else in check. This is Animal Farm.
Yeah.
And they got some young piglets who born hog. All right?
They look like piglets, but they born hog.
Okay? They born hog. So when you look at all of that, and we don't want to say that it's hopeless. It's not hopeless. It's not hopeless. A good friend from Louisiana told me once, said, John, don't worry about the pigs in the Bahamas. A pig could only do one thing, which is grow hog. And a hog is only good for one thing, slaughter.
Yeah.
All right? So when they grow hog, there ain't nothing else left for them. That's it. So, and a lot of them have reached the point. Now, Steve, what can we do? We got S&P, Moody's talking about downgrades. One of the direct results of this downgrade, and yes, I sometimes think there's some type of underhanded, diabolical feeling behind this. But if you know that somebody's trying to manipulate you into a disastrous position, we've seen it.
Why voluntarily walk?
Okay, why would you? You know, you could look at it. You could look at Jamaica. You could look around. We covered this. Okay, so you start to plan your way out of this. They lower our credit rating. You know what that's just done? It costs the cost of money for us to borrow to go up.
Yes.
All right. This is a double-edged cutting sword, cutting us both ways. This is not a joke. It benefits them and the lending agencies when the rating agencies downgrade us.
Right.
So it becomes harder to get out that hole.
And it puts us in a position where they basically owning us bit by bit.
Bit by bit. Debt,
and the deeper we wiggle,
as I said,
the more we wiggle, the deeper we sink.
Debt equals slavery.
Yeah.
Years ago now, Steve, over a year and a bit ago, I came on this show and I said that we're putting too much eggs in Bahama basket.
Yep.
That I read to you excerpts from an IMF country status report 2013-2014 that lists Bahamas revenue as one of the things that was going to help us retard our debt. We cannot continue to put all our eggs in the tourism basket, much less one resort's basket. Okay? We got 5,000 students coming out every year. So what we going to do? Build a resort every year to employ them? That's what we're trying to do. That's not a way to develop a country, Steve. That's madness.
Yeah.
That's absolute total madness.
What do you expect when there's no national development plan? There's no focus on what we're going to do to create industry. There's no focus on those things. There's talk, but there's no focus.
We need to create a minimum of 2,000 jobs every year in this country, Steve. How could we create 2,000 jobs every year in this country? We could put $100 million a year in an endowment fund that could produce returns on the international markets, okay? And we could earmark that money for startups or small businesses, small business grants, and then we could produce 1,000 to 2,000 new jobs a year. There are answers, Steve, okay? We could turn around, and we need actually now to create a sensible retirement situation. This NIB, that don't work. People can't live off of that, okay? We need a sensible pension plan and retirement plan so that people don't feel that they have to work. In fact, not even feel, so that the reality is that people can retire at 60, 65 and not have to
go
work.
back to work.
Okay, a lot of these people have no choice, you know. They have to work. Their children are not employable because a lot of them are still holding on to the job that the child should have. So they have to work. And so, yes, that gentleman is right that this new generation of 30 and 40-somethings are living in their parents' homes. They have no choice but to live in their parents' homes. Okay? So, and they're carrying the debt of their parents who built the big home and this dream. I gotta have a big house. Yeah. I gotta have a big car. I gotta have this and I gotta have that. And I gotta leave my children debt.
Serious.
Okay? They are starting their life indentured from the get-go. We must cut the size of our civil servants. This government is increasing the size of the civil service.
But these same people 2 years ago warned them to do it. They've not done it. They keep saying, we don't have to do that. That's not politically expedient. It's what they said.
Steve.
And as a result, we're paying for it. It didn't get them anywhere except in a bigger hole.
We could go to contract workers throughout the government. They shouldn't have accountants on staff in the government.
No.
That's ridiculous. Okay? You could put secretaries on contract in the government. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and hold them to the performance obligations in their contract. If they fail, they're fired. And they'll be not even fired, contract is terminated. And no severance for that, you know. You are actually self-employed, or you are employed with a company that offers secretarial services. And I employ that company. I give that company a contract. Accounting services. I give them a janitorial service. You should know the government employing thousands of janitors.
Foolishness.
That's foolishness in 2015.
But it's because of the kind of political
it's because we want
they want to control. They want to
control the masses.
Yeah,
you got to come to your MP for
get
this,
that job.
for that,
Yes,
for this, for
absolutely.
that. It's a slave farm store mentality being employed by black people on black people. It's a doggone shame and disgrace. It's disgusting that it should be allowed to continue, and it still continues. You talk about autonomy. Every island should have a certain level of autonomy. Local government was a great idea, but yet it was another one of these smoke screens, because those local governors should be almost like governors and have control, and local government should be a new province. It should have started there so we could decentralize and get some of this weight off of government. They want the
centralized government to be the big boys.
It's the control factor, Steve. It's the control factor. Steve, we need to be feeding ourselves. We need to be self-sufficient, self-sustainable, where we could stand up to these agencies and say, hell no. No.
We can't stand up against WTO.
You can't. You can't. How could you? We're not in that position to even consider standing up against them. Okay? When you are not self-sustainable, when the quote-unquote economic hitman come for you, dog, eat your lunch. You don't have nothing to stand on.
Yeah. Well, John, we're going to have to start sharing episodes from that so that the wider nation could be informed and encouraged that we got to keep our chins up. We've got to think smarter. We've got to move smarter. We've got to walk smarter. And we've got to do the things that's going to take us out of this serious dark hole that we're in. And it could happen because we are hopeful people and we're still a blessed nation. All right, copy, JJ, you there?
Good afternoon, Steve. How you doing?
Thanks for holding. I didn't forget you, old boy.
Hey, John. What's going on, John?
JJ, all is well?
Long time no see, man.
Long time, my brother.
Well, let me tell you what happened, John and Steve. I want to say this. I can die saying this. Nothing is going to happen in this country until the old school die out. All of them have to die out. They ain't listening to us. They They do what they don't do, and they cannot put old wine and new bottle or however it goes. Steve, and I agree with you. You know, Steve, I got the kilo banana on my yard. Last year, I had so much cabbage. I gave me so much cabbage, Steve, and tomatoes. Steve, what come and start farming, Steve?
Yeah.
I went in a food store, I think about 2 years ago, to buy 2 tomatoes. 2 tomatoes cost over $4. I asked people to be crazy.
Yeah.
I went right by the thing underneath by the bridge and buy my seeds and I started planting seeds.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Old paper, Steve, I go in everything, man.
Yeah, you have to.
You know something? See, Steve, all this downgrade and everything cause us behind these people. Like Sparky say, grass can eat.
Yeah.
They go coconut tree, grape, nip, diddy, mommy, and things like that.
Yeah.
John, I want to ask you one question, please.
Yes.
You know, I was, Platana Martin was Minister of Transport for almost 10 years now, right? And every time I see her, I say, listen, Ms. Anna Martin, nothing special. The American owes $6 billion for control our speed. Why don't our government go and get our money, man? And then another thing, Vedat Basin and Ortec, $12 million a year. We signed that deal must be in 1940s, 50s. Can't we negotiate that deal, man, and get $10 billion a year? Or if the American players let them get out and just let the Chinese and Russians and them, man. Maybe they need to start signing up for these people. Because the Americans, Canadians, and the British trying to take our country. But I just hang up and listen.
I appreciate your call. Thank you.
You know, this ORTAC is possibly the most valuable piece of American military
space.
Period. And it's one of the things that I am acutely interested in. I don't know if I would want to play brinksmanship at that point, but I'd say ORTAC is not just the Americans. ORTAC is NATO.
Yeah, NATO.
All
NATO
NATO
and everybody else. They're all doing experimental stuff.
They're all doing experimental things. But one of the things that I don't like is the fact that we don't know. It's here. And we should be elevated to the point of involvement in it. If it's here, you should carry me down there too. I should be able to put a couple of Defense Force Marines on them subs and on the base. And I should be able to really understand in some great extent what is going on. You see the international furor that's being caused as the Japanese are now suggesting that they want the Americans out of some of their regions. The fact that we have ORTEC here has been beneficial to us in many, many, many ways. And it means that sometimes we can play biggity with our neighbors to the south because we know we got some fellows who prepared to back us up. I do agree that the numbers should be increased. The numbers should be drastically increased for the type of facility that is there. And what persons don't realize, from what I understand, ORTEC goes from ORTEC 1 through, I think, 5 or 6. And so it's much more real estate than you realize, much more seabed lease than you realize. And I think 10 million is a real small number. When you look at some of the numbers that we get, and you hear these claims that the X amount, 50% of the drugs going through the United States comes through the Bahamas, and you turn around and you hear that a country like Peru, which is the world's largest producer of cocaine, gets $2 billion a year in support from America for the war on drugs. What? Well, what do we get? All right. What do we get?
We may get every now and then. Well, we get something, but it's nothing tangible, and we don't. And we should be getting more. We should get a whole package of other things and benefits, especially with the migration that we have into our waters with human capital, with human cargo. We should get more than just every now and then we spot one thing. Hey, there's one coming, y'all go get them. We should get more operation. We should get support to help to fight the illegal immigration that we have in the Bahamas. We should get more, and it's an interest for them too, but we don't get that. And I don't know if we can negotiate that. We should get more from CARICOM, John. We've been giving money to the CARICOM, to CCJ, and all these places. The Caribbean Court of Justice, we don't participate, but we give the money. We've been leaders in that, but we don't get anything.
Let's see if we don't play the game of diplomacy. You see, because like I've said to you, this is a circular conversation, but I've said to you that we should have been exporting our tourism services and our financial services into the Caribbean. And we should be using the fact that we contribute heavily and don't take anything. We don't use the court. We hardly ever use our quota at UWI.
And
exactly.
And not only that, even with the scholarships that we can get for our kids and stuff, we are not tapping into that with all that we are giving. This is ridiculous.
All right. So behind our dollar investment or contribution, We should be saying diplomatically, okay, we sending the Bank of the Bahamas down there, we don't expect no friction.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we can't think like that.
We're not thinking like that.
No, we don't.
We're not thinking like that.
John, we have a problem with migration. The rest of the CARICOM nations, countries, they don't really have the kind of influx that we have. One or two may try to find them, scatter themselves in Jamaica. One or two, literally. We get the bulk of it. Yet we can't ask CARICOM to really focus on that with us. With all the contributions that we are making, there's nothing that we get in return tangible, in my opinion. I've been rowing for this for some time. The last time I had Pysol Forbes here, the CARICOM ambassador of the Bahamas to the CARICOM region, and they had the people right here. They didn't even bring that up. They were talking all kind of other stuff. See, we got to get serious about what is it for us. We got to stop being stupid. We got to start benefiting from some things that we're putting money in. It's just simple. It is just the right thing to do.
Steve, I 100% agree. And I know as we're about to go, that brings me to a good point. Because we talk about CARICOM and being aware of things around the region. You know, we had a little exchange here time before last I was here, and I mentioned the Haitian Constitution and the ability to renounce or not renounce. And I did some research since that. And there's a debate. There's a debate to be had as to whether Haitians can renounce or not renounce. And that's a debate that's going on aggressively in Haiti due to some amendments to their constitution. The Haitians have amended their constitution more than 10 times. All right. Unlike us, we can't seem to figure out such sophisticated behavior. Okay. But they have figured out how to amend it. When they have caused some confusion as to whether they can or cannot renounce. And so I take the point. I wanted to make sure I said openly, I take the point. But we must become versed with all of that. We must understand what the consequence is for this one, what's the consequence for Jamaica was. We have to take control. We must lead ourselves. We must not be reacting. We must know how to handle ourselves in the CARICOM. We must know how to take advantage of our position to the north where everybody wants to move up. Like you're saying. So we can't continue to simply sit here with no plan.
Somebody, I had KB on the show yesterday. Somebody wrote me an email. Says, Steve, can you ask KB to please write a song about the ostrich of the Bahamas? Because that's all we do here. Put our head in the sand.
Head in the sand. But you heard me say that before.
Yeah.
The Bahamas is the most inviting place to a foreigner. You know, just to pull up on a country this beautiful, so pristine, so amazing. Imagine
great potential.
And when you pull up on the beach, the natives, they ain't stand up there guarding their country and saying, boy, look here, you better come right. You can't lie on here unless you got this, you got that, you got this, you got that. What you got on that boat for us? Okay? We standing, when they pull up on the beach, the natives got their head buried in the sand and the tail in the sky.
Yeah.
What a place to arrive to.
I tell you.
They just call home and say, everybody, hurry up, come.
John, I want to read some text messages before the day is over. This one says, thank you for playing that piece with Sir Lyndon Pinling at the top of the show. Yesterday, we marked the death anniversary of Lyndon Pinling. 15 years on this day, August 26, 2000 is when he passed. And it's been 15 years ago. This one says, declaring that Jesus is Lord of the Bahamas. Somebody liked that too, because Lyndon Pinling said that at the top of the show when we played that. First time you heard that, right? Yeah. Well, first time for a lot of things on Hot Copy. We've got the stuff. We've got the sound bites. We've got the archives. We are the record keepers. Hey, John?
Yes, sir.
And the lady told me today in the food store, she says, boy, I don't miss you because you are the conscience of the nation. So that's my new name now, the conscience of the nation. And I appreciate that. This one says, did I hear your guest say that we are junk bond starters with fractional banking as the basis of our financial system, that it doesn't matter who you put in place, the ship will still sink? And fractional banking was suggested to us by the same set of people who downgrading us now. How does he reply into this revelation, meaning you?
And again, we are not yet at junk bond status. We're one downgrade away.
One downgrade away.
One downgrade away.
In other words, we're looking on the cliff and now there's a big black hole. We may jump. We just may jump, or we may fall, or somebody may push us there. Depends on what we do next, now that we are where we are. This one said they should have collected their outstanding bill and they would not have to borrow money to pay off debt. Who the hell borrow money to pay off bills? All you did is put yourself in another bill. Well, you heard the term.
Borrow from Peter to pay Paul.
Absolutely. And don't tell Peter, because, you know, Peter may ask Paul for the money back right away.
Peter and Paul may be working together.
Oh, my goodness. They may be the IMF and the IDB right now, or Standards and Poor's and Moody's. Anyway, Don't ask, don't tell. That's another policy for another place in time. This one says, ask Mr. Bostic, what has he done for the people in Baintown and Grantstown in the past 2 years, or what's ongoing program, or what ongoing program has he put in place, and if he's putting any in place?
I put programs in place in Bain and Grantstown and Angleton from I was 18 years old. The first foundation I formed was called Hold, Homes for the Old, Lonely, and Destitute, and moved from DeVoe Street all the way to Finlayson Street, and we actually relocated and housed people from I was 18 years old.
And now John is
Next question. Next question.
This was a good evening, Mr. McKinney, and your guest. I agree with Mr. Bostic. We don't have a busing system. Like Mr. Bostic Sr., I refer to them as speeding jukebox. Why can't the government implement that all autometers, what's that? Omnibuses be fixed. They're talking about the meter, 35 miles. Ban all sound. Odometers, right. Ban all sound systems. Have plainclothes police officers ride these buses. Have coupons as opposed to cash, and have a recall of all plates. Too many civil servants, pastors, and cronies have these plates. In this way, we can have a proper busing system. And he has some of the right components in there. One of the things that they were talking about for the last 10 years with Glenys Hanna Martin as the transport minister is that they want to recall all these plates. But the trouble is, in recalling these plates, they're recalling all of the people who are political hangers-on who, in fact, have been dominating these plates.
They got them in the first place.
And it's going to be one madhouse trying to clear that up because nobody's willing to giving those things up, and it's going to cause political fallout. And so they have not touched that.
See, if the people of the Bahamas would rise, 300 odd franchise holdees cannot hold 350,000 people on one island hostage. So when you talk, and this is why I think the politicians must be inside out. If I was a politician worrying about votes, you think I could? How does that number work? I can worry about these 300 people as opposed to the fact that 300,000 people upset. That don't make no sense.
You got to have courage to make the decision.
But the 300,000 somehow have allowed 300 to hold them hostage. How could that be?
Madness, I tell you there, John. This one says, Stephen John, will this and possible downgrades impact a possible VAT increase? And I feel ashamed of COB as soon to be University of the Wet Indies. My God. And they're talking about all the rainfall, all the water that's in
Steve, right here, over a year and a bit ago, in that same country status report that we reviewed from the IMF, it was clearly stated that VAT was going to be at 13.5%. That VAT was introduced at 7.5%. To me, was a smokescreen. VAT is going to be ratcheted up. Ain't no if and on.
Yeah.
Ain't no if and on. And that's something I will stand by. There's no if and on.
Well, what they did cleverly, they said first we'll run at 15%, then they pull it all the way back to 7.5%. So people are naturally thinking that it was going to go up the other 7.5%, make 15%. But what they're going to do is ratchet up to 13 and say, look, you're still getting the break. But it's going to
before the next ratchet.
Yeah, it's going to increase.
When I was a student in the UK, VAT went from 11% up to about 15%. I understand it is over 20 now.
Yeah.
Okay, VAT is a ratchet.
And it is the answer for the government in many regards because, they're saying, look, we may have to do this to save the status of the Bahamas and to save the fact that we don't want to see junk bond status or a devaluation. So
they have devalued the currency. VAT is a devaluation, Steve.
Yes,
your dollar ain't with a dollar no more.
7.5%.
Okay. Your dollar ain't going with as far as it went no more. Okay. Let's stop pretending, man. Let's stop the people. I had a fellow was on the radio the other day and he ran hot, and I could understand why he ran hot because they are selling a load of crap to the people.
You're talking about my good friend Georgie Capron.
They got to stop.
Yeah.
It does make you angry. They have to stop.
Well, we have started something here today, and hopefully we will continue the conversation because these sobering conversations are very, very important to have in a time of jokey leaders in a jokey town.
And the one KB apologize. Steve, watch out before they make you call and tell you you saying jokey, they mad because he say clown.
Yeah.
You better be careful.
Well, you know,
I don't want nobody calling the radio and saying you want to apologize. You know?
Well, if they come to me and ask me to apologize for what I'm saying, I may add some more fuel to the fire. So they better be careful that they don't
more truth to purpose.
They better don't fool around because right now they got Georgie Caper them cussing. They got some people going out there doing other things. Don't push your luck.
Steve, I got some old lions around me, and they saying, you know, go ahead, young fella, raw. Boy, if they wake up us old lions, for Christ's sake, we ain't got nothing to lose but one more stance.
I tell you.
A lot of them feel like the Samsons, you see. They got one more push in them. And they ready to take the whole thing down. These Philistines, they ready to deal with them.
You won't see them no more.
They won't see them. And if I got to go with them, let that be my last stance.
I tell you.
They wake up these old lions around here. And some of them, like I say, old lions still got teaching them. Don't mind that. Don't mind that. And a lot of them are inspired by the passion they hear in the Born Free.
Yeah.
They're inspired by that because they instilled it.
Yeah.
They instilled it.
They
and
say,
penny of them for this foolishness. And if they
well
got
done, my boy.
One more push. And I calling on them, Steve. I'm calling on them. And I keep telling them, y'all ain't finished. How do you feel for all of your sacrifice, for all of your self-sacrifice to watch these same people who you serve to elevate rape this country?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Pillage,
how do you sleep?
Rape and pillage and plunder.
Okay. And trust me, that is get up in their belly, Steve.
Yeah.
That is get up in their belly.
Because when they were young men and women, they had planned that in their retirement it would be rosy, not difficult, not burdensome.
Correct.
And here it is now. They are paying out of their backsides to keep that light on, a common little light. They got to pay. They don't, and sometimes they pay to keep the light on, and they still can't find $5 more to buy the necessary grocery or the medicine that they need in this town that seems to be falling down.
I tell the young folk all the time, they say, man, these old people, they keeping all the job they wouldn't look. I say, you think that old man who been waking from he was 19 and is now heading on 70 really wants to drag himself to wake every day? You think he really wants to be there? He has no choice. Yeah. He don't want your job. Yeah. He would love to sit home in a rocking chair and watch you go to work. Yeah. He would love to do that.
We got a lot of work to do, John, talking about work. Our children are going to have to do a better job of looking at their parents. The first commandment with promise in the Bible is, listen, honor your mother and your father, so that your days may be long and numbered upon this land, which the Lord thy God has given thee.
And let me fix that. There are a few of these old fellas who don't want to see the young rise, who don't want to see a new breed come in who will stop this foolishness and hold them accountable. Steve, I think if we really found out what's going on, we will cry tears of blood. If we really got to the chair and opened the book and started to look at it, really, we would cry tears of blood. I understand that more than 50% of the crown assets of this country have already been sold since the change of the Movable Properties Act. For a Bahamian to really believe that, they would cry tears of blood. Okay? We are not talking about some colonial power that stole and we were invaded. We're not Palestinians.
Right here.
We did this to ourselves since independence, since the change of government.
Rape and pillage.
We did this to ourselves. We sold our birthright for a bowl of soup, for a temporary warm belly. We have done this to ourselves.
We can't reverse it.
We must reverse it. And we have to reverse it now.
And we will.
And trust me, we're going to do it. And we ain't going to let nothing stop the tide from rising, so.
Next time I bring John here, we're going to pick a team of men who we believe may have the courage. If we can get 10, if we can find 10. There was a search one time ago with Dr. Elwood Donaldson. If we could find 10 good men, we could take the country in a good way, not by force, take the country with the kind of prowess of how you ought to go and make it happen. You need some men. You need some good men. And when I say men, I don't mean men or women. You need 10 good, lively, strong people to get it started. Because where we are now, there almost is no hope for a lot of people who can see what Born Free spirit of John Boswick is saying, who can't understand what Paul Moss is saying, who can't understand what Damien is getting at. They're taking it personal. We are taking it from a point of view that this is country that has to be saved so that your children can have some place to call home. That's how serious it is. We end our show tonight with that. That's a sobering thought. As you prepare for the hurricane, keep posted to 107.5 FM. You know how we go. We stay through the hurricane. We are on all the time. And if necessary, we'll be here just to tell you this the latest. This is the latest. That's how we do it. I thank you very much, John Bostwick. Thank you kindly for being here again today. And obviously, Bostwick's back because Wednesday now seems to belong to this moment of talking and looking at the future and visiting the past and speaking truth to power and making no apologies for it. We thank you for being a part of our show today. Thank you very much. Irvin Weish has been my producer today. We're going to go home now. Hard Copy has been brought to you by National Insurance Board. They're wanting you to know the impact of the minimum wage on the monies that you've got to pay for your national insurance. Commonwealth Bail Bonds, you need bail. You want to check the folks at Commonwealth